or anything to go by, we are going to have a brilliant start to this afternoon of FA Cup football. Michael Oliver, the man with the whistle, he blows it and away we go. Palace of the Premier League, 12th against Millwall, 12th in the Championship. South London pride at stake, a place in the FA Cup quarter-final at stake. Stephen Warnock, this is beautifully poised for an intriguing afternoon.
Yeah, two teams from different divisions, but two teams that are in form. One loss in 9 for Millwall, and then Crystal Palace on a rich vein of form themselves. But I loved Alex Neil's comments. We're not coming here just to come and see how we get on. We've got a plan, we've got a game plan, we're going to have to execute it. I hate it when teams just think, oh, it's a day out. Go and try and win the game, because you just never know where you might progress in this competition.
Chris Richards returning the ball to his goalkeeper Matt Turner, one of 3 Palace changes from that massive win here against Aston Villa on Tuesday night. Champions League chasing Aston Villa, and Crystal Palace took them apart, and that is something they haven't been able to do on a regular basis to teams at Selhurst Park this season. All their form has been away from home as Billy Mitchell, Millwall's number 8, collects the ball in the centre of the park. It's forward from the left back area by Joe Bryan for Millwall, for Femi Aziz to race onto. Aziz has got to the byline, he's got Richards up against him, he's got the cross in as well. Gay was perfectly placed, the Palace centre half, on the edge of his 6-yard box to head it away. Yeah,
lovely ball from Joe Bryan down the line, just taking Chris Richards out of that right centre-back position and forcing him to become a right-back. He wasn't too comfortable, he allowed Aziz to get the cross in. Positive start from Millwall.
We were told officially it's a sellout at Selhurst Park. I can see some seats that are vacant in the Arthur Waite stand opposite us, but I think more than anything they are just being kept spare to keep a little bit of distance between the Crystal Palace fans over there and the almost 4,000 Millwall supporters who have made that very short 8-mile trip south through the capital for this one.
Yeah, I got off the train early this morning. It was absolutely rammed full of fans heading into the grounds. A lot of police presence in and around the area, but there is a rivalry between the two teams. Hopefully it's a healthy one on the pitch today.
0-0 between Palace and Millwall. Here's Mateta from inside Millwall's half, trying to divert it to the right wing for Munoz. That's cut out, and back it goes to Liam Roberts, the Millwall goalkeeper, to sweep it upfield. 2.5 minutes in, goalless. Here is Mateta taking it down on his chest. Sarr, did he get a kick to the head there? He did. Casper Denor's boot, the Millwall midfielder, was high, so it's a Palace free kick, and it's about halfway inside Millwall's half in the middle of the pitch here, Stephen.
Yeah, lovely play from Mateta as it goes up to him, rather than trying to just aimlessly flick it on. Brings it off his chest into the path of Sarr, and he just puts his head onto it, and Denor, as you say, high boot catches him. This is an awkward position for Crystal Palace, because it's quite central, around about, what you say, 45 yards out, and it's what you're aiming to do. Is it, you're going to be inventive, you're going to be clever, try and stand stumping up to the back post, or you're going to try and be a little bit more intricate, play something shorter.
0-0, first test for Millwall then, yet to concede a goal in the FA Cup this season. Wins over Dagenham and Redbridge in round 3 and Leeds in round 4 at Elland Road. It's Ezza's free kick for Palace, drifted into the box, didn't quite have the distance on it, headed away. It's back at the feet of Ezza again, but Palace are now back on the halfway line with Ben Chilwell. Yeah,
a little bit disappointing from Ezza, a little bit lazy with the attempted free kick into the box, very easily cleared by Millwall. We'll be delighted if that's the standard of quality from Crystal Palace this afternoon.
Saying that Millwall haven't conceded a goal so far in the FA Cup this season, neither have Crystal Palace. They beat League One Stockport here in round 3, and then a win at Doncaster Rovers of League 2 in round 4. Here is Mark Gay. There was a little bit of a concern about his possible availability for this game, because he had some discomfort in his knee here in that win over Villa on Tuesday, but he's fit to start in this strong Palace team, which in full is Turner in goal, Richards, Lacroix and Gay as the 3 centre-halves, Munoz and Chilwell the full-backs, and then Lerma and Hughes, and the forward line is Sarr and Ezza with Mateta up front. Palace going towards the Holmesdale Road end in this first half from left to right. I'll give you the Millwall team in a minute, but here they come, the Championship side. It's Aziz up to the edge of the penalty area, square pass, centrally is Denor, and now on the edge of the penalty area this is Camille Negley, one of Millwall's new signings, their record signing in January. Ball worked to the right hand side, and the cross is a little too deep, and indeed actually it's drifted out of play before it got to Femi Aziz at the back post. So it's a Palace goal kick, Palace 0, Millwall 0.
Yeah, patient there from Millwall, just allowing Crystal Palace to try and build up, and Lerma was caught in midfield on the ball, just dallied ever so slightly, and De Noor came in, capitalised, and then they were quite quick in how they wanted to get forward. Just lack of quality on the cross in the end, goes out of play.
So that goal kick taken by Matt Turner. Here is the Millwall team, by the way. Liam Roberts is the goalkeeper. So Lucas Jensen, their normal number one, is on the bench today. One of 4 Millwall changes. Mateta's chasing a long ball over the top. Roberts has come out. He's gone into Mateta. He also got a bit of the ball, and then Munoz, shooting from about 30 yards out, is cleared off the line. And now Michael Oliver has blown his whistle about 3 or 4 seconds after that collision between Roberts and Mateta. Now Roberts won the ball, he's outside of his penalty area, he got there with his boots, but the follow through from the keeper has smashed Jean-Philippe Mateta to the ground.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether Michael Oliver's tried to let play continue because the ball fell to Munoz and he thought there was a goal scoring opportunity with Liam Roberts out of his goal, but also did he blow it because he doesn't feel it's a foul, but it's also, it is a foul. That is very high on the head of Jean-Philippe Mateta. He almost takes his head off at head height, doesn't he? I mean, that is really poor goalkeeping. Yes, he gets the ball, but it's the follow through into Mateta's head.
Oh my word.
Dangerous play. It's worse when you see it the second time.
The trouble is, not only is Roberts' boot extremely high, his leg is outstretched, his studs are showing, and he's caught the relatively tall Jean-Philippe Mateta in the face. And obviously for Millwall, they're not used to VAR, but we've got it today. So they will, I imagine, be having a look at this. The VAR, Nick Hopton, might be giving some instructions right now to referee Michael Oliver. Indeed, Stephen, it is being reviewed. Yeah,
it should be reviewed as well. And I mean, it is going to the screen. Michael Oliver will have a look at it. The ball over the top from Will Hughes was exceptional. And Cooper found himself just running back towards his own goal. I felt like he could have dealt with the situation. But Liam Roberts, the goalkeeper, he comes out, rush of blood to the head. Maybe it's the adrenaline of the occasion.
It's serious foul play. That is the official terminology in terms of what Michael Oliver is doing right now, which is over by the screen, reviewing the footage. That is what he's been asked to look at here. Roberts has breezed the ball, but then with that high left boot has almost, and very fittingly round these parts, if you think all those years ago with Eric Cantona, kung fu kicked Jean-Philippe Mateta in the face, and he's in trouble here, the goalkeeper. Michael Oliver has walked away from the screen. He is making that indication with his...
Direct free kick to Palace. Millwall goalkeeper.
And their goalkeeper Liam Roberts, who has received a red card from Michael Oliver inside the opening 8 minutes of this London derby. And we should mention as well that Mateta is still needing treatment outside of that Millwall box.
Yeah, I can understand why he still has it. He is still having medical attention because it is a heavy kick to the head. Millwall fans will feel, well, he's got the ball. Yes, he gets the first contact on the ball, but it's the follow through, it's the straight leg, it's the kick through the head of Jean-Philippe Mateta. That is the reason he's been sent off a serious foul play, and rightly so. A terrible start for Millwall.
Yeah, so we are definitely going to see Lucas Jensen, who is there, as I mentioned just before Roberts did that, their regular number one, the Dane. He's going to be needed to come on. Alex Neil is deep in conversation with some of his backroom staff as to what to do here. And for the moment, maybe our focus should be on Jean-Philippe Mateta as well, because amongst the flurry of activity in that red card for Roberts, Mateta is still lying flat on his back here and is receiving treatment from several members of medical staff. So while that is happening, let us go to Deepdale to see how that Lancashire derby started between Preston and Burnley, Lee Blayman.
It's 0-0, Chris. One chance, it's gone Preston's way, and it went to the man who's at the centre of these racism allegations, Militon Osmajic, into the area right side, shot wide. Worth noting that during the pre-match handshakes, not one Burnley player shook hands with Osmajic either, as these investigations continue following the allegations made by Burnley's Hannibal Mejbri, who's not in the squad today. Preston 0, Burnley 0.
Thank you, Lee. Well, we're not back underway here yet because Jean-Philippe Mateta is not only needing further treatment, Palace have decided they're going to make a change as well. So it's a clearly disturbing head injury for Palace's leading scorer Jean-Philippe Mateta, and Eddie Nketiah, who arrived from Arsenal and got his first Premier League goal here on Tuesday night against Aston Villa for Palace. He is already stripped down and ready to go on the touchline.
Yeah, there's a lot of concerned players in and around Mateta as he is receiving treatment. A couple of players on the knees next to him, sort of trying to chat to him. But it's when you see the replays again, you can understand why he is still down. I mean, the force in which he gets hit and straight in the head, it's vicious. But just looking at Millwall now, Alex Neil, he brought all his team over to the touchline, gathered them round, he started talking to them, obviously trying to set out the game plan now, which will have to change. We'll see a more defensive shape from them. More than likely he will lose one of the strikers, the forward attacking players. But yeah, they've got to regroup now, Millwall. They've got to stay together as a team, because this could become a very long afternoon for them if they're not communicating on the pitch, organised in the way that they set about the game plan now.
Well, there was always going to be an unlucky party from a Millwall perspective, and we are being told that it is Luke Cundle who is going to be making way here, because Millwall are down to 10 men. If you are just joining us, their goalkeeper Liam Roberts has been sent off here for serious foul play, a high boot outside of his penalty area, catching Jean-Philippe Mateta in the head, who is still down needing treatment. He's yet to leave the field of play. Eddie Nketiah is waiting patiently to come on, as is Lucas Jensen, the Millwall goalkeeper. So let me just tell you about what else is happening in the FA Cup today. We've got Bournemouth against Wolves to come from 3 o'clock at the Vitality Stadium. We'll have our usual goal service as well on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds with Alistair Bruce Ball and Rob Green down on the south coast of England. And then from 5:45, Manchester City against Plymouth, who caused one of the biggest FA Cup shocks you imagine of this entire season with that win over Liverpool in round 4. And Plymouth's task today at the Etihad from 5:45 will be described by Conor McNamara and Izzy Christensen. And then tomorrow we've got Newcastle against Brighton as well, plus updates of Manchester United against Fulham, which is live on BBC One, and more live FA Cup football for you on Monday night with Nottingham Forest against Ipswich. We, Stephen, cannot see what's going on with Jean-Philippe Mateta at the moment from our position here in the main stand, but what we can see is there are 7 or 8 members of medical staff in fluorescent jackets all around Jean-Philippe Mateta at the moment. And you mentioned the fact that there are many Palace players who are sort of stood in a semicircle around Mateta with their arms and their hands on their waists, looking particularly disturbed.
Yeah, I think one of the images I did see was that he was getting a neck brace put on him, so that just tells you the severity of the injury that he's picked up. And I think when you watch it again, and you see the highlights of the game tonight, when you look at the studs and the position that they are, they're very high, so you wonder whether there will be facial injuries as well from the studs that sort of caught his face. It's such a bad sort of challenge when you see it back. Originally I thought it was a coming together and he'd almost took a knee to the chest, but it wasn't, and when you see it again, it's really poor.
And they are finally in a position now to move Jean-Philippe Mateta onto the stretcher, and he's getting a great reception from the Crystal Palace supporters. Let's go back to Deepdale, Preston Burnley, Lee Blakeman.
Still 0-0, but another chance for Preston. This time a corner fell to Potts inside the penalty area. He put in a shot. Hladky in the Burnley goal made a really good save. Preston attacking the away end, which is packed with 5,000 plus Burnley supporters. Great atmosphere, great game on the pitch as well, but it's still Preston 0, Burnley 0.
It's also England's final game in the ICC Champions Trophy in the cricket against South Africa. Stefan Schemmelt is watching that one in Karachi.
South Africa's chase of 180 has begun. Joffer Archer bowling the first over. He started with 2 wides, which rather sums up England's day so far. South Africa 2 without loss, and we haven't had a legal delivery.
Thank you very much, Stefan. That is live ball-by-ball coverage on 5 Live Sports Extra. Well, these are particularly sad scenes to see Crystal Palace's Jean-Philippe Mateta leave the pitch here on a stretcher, having had a brilliant season for Palace and also scored the last time these two met, which was in the FA Cup back in 2022 in Palace's win at Millwall. But his afternoon is over, and actually Eddie Nketiah, who is waiting to come on for Jean-Philippe Mateta, but before he ran into the penalty area there, he went over, Stephen, and he gave Jean-Philippe Mateta a tap on the chest there.
Yeah, he did. It was a lovely touch, but one thing that concerns me here is that the tunnel is away to our right, and usually if it was not a major incident, they go down the tunnel and they assess the player within the medical room that are close to the changing rooms. It looks like he's going straight off to the left, which tells you he's probably on his way to hospital, which is a real concern.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, Stephen. Right, here we go. Palace 0, Millwall 0. Millwall down to 10 men. And Palace have got this free kick, which is about 8 yards outside the box. Ezza's taken it. He's hit it into the wall. It's ricocheted out towards this right-hand side where Lacroix is trying to see it behind for a corner. Millwall didn't want that to happen, and it's hooked out of play for a Crystal Palace throw on this near right-hand side. That delay has been almost 10 minutes there while we had the VAR and the red card for Liam Roberts, the Millwall goalkeeper, and the necessary treatment for Jean-Philippe Mateta as well. Palace 0, Millwall 0. Palace throw from the right, which Lerma takes into the feet of Munoz, who has been one of the standout players of Crystal Palace this season, the Colombian from that right wing-back position. Now Abera Ezza's got it just inside Millwall's half on the left with the black gloves on, into the feet of Will Hughes, who carries it forward and then cuts back in field again for Gay. And if you thought Palace were going to put some pressure on Millwall, they really are now with the 10 men. This could be a long afternoon for Millwall. Ezza into the box, punched away by the substitute goalkeeper Jensen, outside of the penalty area to Hughes, who with his left foot bends it back in again, and it's dropped towards Nketiah, who fires in for Palace. And as he runs away to celebrate, Michael Oliver has seen an offence in there, possibly a handball, and Eddie Nketiah, who thought he had another Palace goal, his second in the space of a few days, is denied, and it is still Palace 0, Millwall 0.
Yeah, good spot from Michael Oliver. If it is a handball, it just comes off. It looks like it's the midriff of Nketiah from first viewing. We're getting a second angle on the replay in front of us. Now it does just brush off the midriff onto the left arm. Really good spot from Michael Oliver. He was right in the thick of it. Nketiah thought it was the dream sort of scenario for him, scoring a goal in midweek and then coming off the bench and almost with his first touch scoring again. But there's the warning sign for Millwall.
Took it well though, didn't he? Even though it didn't count.
Very instinctive, snapshot, left foot, hip high, and it was a difficult opportunity, but that's the confidence that hopefully that goal has given him in midweek.
So Palace with the ball in their back line with Maxence Lacroix on this beautiful sunny afternoon in South Norwood in one of London's suburbs, as Sarr whips it in for Palace from the right. That wasn't a bad ball. Harding, the Millwall right back, Wes Harding, letting it run across his body and out to play on the opposite side, the right back area for a Millwall throw.
What a switch of play from Lacroix, straight out to the feet of Ismaila Sarr. He's one thing in his mind, quick touch out of his feet, deliver into the box. And goalkeeper Lucas Jensen, he punched one earlier on. He almost went to punch this one, then decided he didn't want to have anything to do with it, leave it, went out for a throw-in on the far side. But promising signs from Crystal Palace since Millwall have had that man sent off.
Yeah, Liam Roberts dismissed. Millwall, one of 4 clubs now left in the FA Cup from outside of the top tier after Cardiff's exit last night, which you would have heard on 5 Live at Aston Villa. We know that we're going to have at least one Championship team in the quarter-final, with that game between Preston and Burnley happening right now, and of course Plymouth at Manchester City later. That will be live on 5 Live and BBC Sounds too.
You never know with Plymouth. You
don't. Who gave them any chance at all against Liverpool in round 4, apart from those of a pilgrim's persuasion. It's a Millwall throw about halfway inside Palace's half here. They're going from right to left in this first half in a silvery grey shirt, shorts and socks combination, and this throw, which is going to be taken by Wes Harding, the Jamaican, in towards that near post. Tanganga got a touch on it. Colburn was in there as well, and Josh Coburn couldn't quite get enough of a nudge to beat Matt Turner, the Palace goalkeeper.
He should score. It's a really good opportunity for Millwall. They set the throw up but he just can't read the bounce, Josh Coburn. As it comes into him, he almost throws his knee at it. That was a big opportunity, because they're the opportunities that Millwall will have to get organised for. Set pieces, they can score goals from them, they can make life difficult for Crystal Palace. They might not have any or much possession. They're the opportunities they have to make the most of, and should have found themselves with a goal.
He's a very tall, broad forward, Josh Coburn. As this is Palace's forward, Nketiah to the right side for Munoz, tries to pull it back. It's dropped towards Sarr, whose shot is blocked, then off the head of Eza into the feet of Nketiah, who can't work it out towards that left-hand side, and Millwall get it clear up towards the halfway line. There is Josh Coburn trying to put himself about amongst those Palace defenders. He had a really interesting week last week, Stephen, because he missed a penalty against Derby while the game was still at 0-0, and then very, very late on scored the winning goal for Millwall, which has meant they're now unbeaten in 3 in the Championship.
Yeah, and when you score a goal and your tail's up, you're thinking, just let anything fall to me, I'll score anything. But I just feel like he just didn't anticipate the bounce as it came into him, which he'll be bitterly disappointed at.
So Palace 0, Millwall 0. There's the unmissable frame of Will Hughes pirouetting in midfield to escape Millwall attention. It's cleared away by the Championship team up towards the halfway line, where Gay races back into his own half to restart the attack again. We're almost up to the halfway stage of this first half, but it feels like we haven't had too much football at all. But here's Nketiah using his body to try and force Tanganga out of the way. Too much of it, according to Michael Oliver. Nketiah is penalised. Millwall free kick on the edge of their box.
A bit generous, that, I thought there was a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge between the two players, and Tanganga is a very strong player. Didn't really complain about the situation.
He's having a great season, Japhet Tanganga, with Millwall. They got him on a free from Spurs. He was on loan at the club and then joined permanently in the summer. Some talk of him moving in January for a fee of around £12 million. That's how good his campaign has been for the Lions. Will go back to Deepdale in just a moment as Lacroix clears it away for Palace up to the halfway, and a lovely touch by Nketiah gives it to Eza pushing it on back into the box for Nketiah shoots, closed down well by Tanganga, takes the power out of it into the hands of Jensen.
Yeah, brilliant defending from Tanganga. They were brushing arms against each other, trying to hold each other off, Tanganga and Nketiah. Nketiah tries to pull it back into the penalty area, square it, but Tanganga just gets a block on it enough, and then it just goes into the hands of Jensen. But again, more positive play from Crystal Palace going forward.
No goals here between Palace and Millwall, but we have our first of those 3 lunchtime games in the Championship between Oxford and Coventry. Laura Kenyon.
We absolutely do, and it's Oxford United 0, Coventry 1. The playoff chasers take the lead in fantastic form and get the opener through Jack Rudoni, who seems to have injured himself in the process. He may well come back onto the pitch, but it's Oxford United 0, Coventry 1.
Millwall were winners at Ellen Road in round 4. They beat Leeds United by 2-0. Leeds are at home today against West Bromwich Albion. John Bennett's watching.
It's 0-0. One chance each though. Dan James with a curling shot wide for Leeds, who have dominated, but against the run of play, John Swift for West Brom had a shot which was inches wide of the post. Leeds 0, West Brom 0.
Billy Mitchell, the Millwall midfielder, is down here after a very fair, robust coming together with Will Hughes, who doesn't mind a tackle like that, does he, Stephen?
No, Will loves it. I mean, I played with Will at Derby. He's a magnificent footballer, but he's tough as well. He doesn't mind a challenge, and he stood up to that challenge from Billy Mitchell there, and Mitchell came off second best, and he fell to the ground after the challenge, holding his shin.
Feels rather appropriate in this all-London affair that we've got a Billy Mitchell on the pitch today. South East Enders and all that. Munoz into the box for Palace and Nketiah, and the shot held well by goalkeeper Jensen. It was right at him, but it had some power behind it from Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, work it well down the right-hand side. Munoz and Ismail Assar linking up extremely well. They get a 2v1 situation, and then it's that touch and spin and snapshot from Nketiah. Just can't quite find the accuracy into that far left-hand corner. Fires it straight at Jensen.
And now, John Bennett, you have had a goal at Ellen Road.
Leeds are flying right now. They've taken the lead. Leeds United 1, West Brom 0. It's Junior Firpo who scored against Sheffield United last Monday. This time it was a cross into the box and a header into the back of the net. Leeds 1, West Brom 0.
I'm sure there are some Leeds United fans wondering whether they could have been playing FA Cup football today rather than another game in the Championship, as they're continuing their push to return to the Premier League. Here is Will Hughes inside Millwall's final third on that far left-hand side for Crystal Palace, 0-0. But Millwall bring it away with Coburn, but at the moment he's got it all to do and he's just run into traffic, and there were 3 Palace players around him on the halfway line. Lacroix takes it away from him. Hughes from the left-hand side, low ball in. That's Eze on the shot, and Jensen palming it away. And then Munoz, that was on target, that's blocked. Back in by Munoz again, up to the far post. Nketiah gets his head on it, Eze's in there as well. Millwall able to scramble it away, but they're living dangerously here, the Championship side. Still 0-0, and then Munoz has put too much on his flick into the wide area, and it's out for a Millwall throw.
Yeah, a couple of moments of brilliant from Eze as he gets his shot away, but it's a really smart block from Tanganga. He just takes the pace out of the shot. Lucas Jensen, he doesn't catch it because of the deflection, just parries it out, and then it just starts to pinball around the penalty box. Millwall players getting the bodies on the line, getting across, making sure that no Palace player can pick his head up and get a free shot at goal. They're just against the ropes a little bit here, Millwall, but they're surviving.
With their 10 men, Palace 0, Millwall 0. Here is Sarr on the edge of Millwall's penalty area. It's dropped to the right for Munoz. Munoz with the cross. Eze almost got the better of Harding. Wasn't too sure the Millwall fullback where that ball had gone, but he manages to clear it away. Let's see how things have begun in one of the other Championship 12:30 kickoffs. Blackburn against Norwich. Julia Bowles.
It is Blackburn 0, Norwich 0, but the visitors have had a good chance to go in front. Lewis Dobbin out on the right, put a good ball into Slimani, but his shot went wide, so it's still goalless at Ewood Park.
Thank you, Julia. Ben Chilwell has just raced forward down the left-hand side, and his cross has been blocked, and there is a Millwall player down, Steve, and I can't quite see who it is. I think it's Camille Negley maybe, who is inside his own penalty area, lying on his back, asking if he can have a bit of treatment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what it is, whether it's a sort of a rock of the ankle when he's gone to close Chilwell down, or whether he's followed through in the challenge and the cross Ben Chilwell, or whether it's just a little bit of gamesmanship and slow the game down as much as you can. And he actually gets the ball kicked against his ankle and then rocks his ankle. They are sore, those ones.
Let's go back to the cricket, shall we? That Champions Trophy game between England and South Africa. Stefan Schemmelt.
South Africa are 11 for 1. Jofra Archer bowled 4 wides in his first over, but the first ball of his second, he got one to bounce at Tristan Stubbs, who angled it down onto his own stumps to be bowled for a duck. So South Africa 11 for 1. Their target is 180.
Alex Neil with his hands in his pockets, the Millwall manager, who was appointed at the end of December in his black and yellow tracksuit out on the edge of his technical area. He was actually here on Tuesday night, Alex Neil. He said he was very impressed with Crystal Palace and their win over Aston Villa.
But he was petrified coming away from that game, thinking, how do you stop them? Because when they're in full flow, Crystal Palace, they're very difficult to stop, and there will be a gulf in class. He was just having a little chat with his striker, Josh Coburn, bringing him to the sideline, saying, you've got to keep that ball for us. He tried to take 3 or 4 players on. Very difficult when you're in your own half. Got to be more sensible.
Let's go off to the West Midlands, shall we? Birmingham against Wickham. That's a 12:30 kick-off as well. And watching that one is Tom Gale.
Where it's goalless, Chris, and we've just seen the first attempt of the game. Alfie May, 11 appearances without a goal. A toe bunt, 12 yards out. Well saved by the keeper Norris. Birmingham 0, Wickham 0.
Cheers, Tom. We might see Birmingham City as one of Millwall's opponents next season, but that is suggesting that Millwall are going to stay in the Championship. They're not too far off launching a playoff charge of their own. They are only 6 points outside of the playoffs. It wouldn't necessarily have been a realistic ambition for Millwall at the start of the season, but they are, as they say, Stephen, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, you've got to time your run well, and Millwall have hit a good rich vein of form, so they can continue that. But this is where they've got to dig in. They've got to concentrate on this game now, get that togetherness in the team, but they've tried to be as narrow as they can and try and hit on the counter, which they're trying to do now.
Off goes Coburn racing after the ball down the right hand side. Lacroix got there first. He's fizzed that ball back to Matt Turner, his goalkeeper. It's a good job the Americans' touch was so tight there.
Yeah, Lacroix showing his pace there, though. I don't think people realise that what is he, probably 6'3", 6'4", but he can shift, he can motor when he gets going.
I noticed Oliver Glasner said recently about Maxence Lacroix that the thing that he admires about him is that he's constantly asking to see videos of matches that he's played in and asking Glasner and his backroom staff about ways that he can improve his game. Obviously those two were together at Wolfsburg as well in Germany, so they know each other well. 0-0 here between Palace of the Premier League and Millwall of the Championship, and Gay moving forward. He is halfway inside Millwall's half. He's onto his right, he's onto his left, he's back onto his right again, the Palace defender. Now Hughes. Oh, Hughes has picked the pass. It's Chilwell. He's missed, Ben Chilwell. What a big chance to score his first goal for Crystal Palace. And I think Jensen, the goalkeeper, has made a brilliant stop there for Millwall to turn it behind for a corner.
Yeah, well, as this ball's played into Will Hughes, I just think he's trying to, I don't know whether he's trying to turn it round the corner into Nketiah, but Ben Chilwell capitalises and he finds himself in a great position, but take nothing away from Jensen. Outstretched right leg, just pushes it round the post when it looked like a certain goal for Ben Chilwell.
Certainly was on target, wasn't it, from Chilwell with his left foot, trying to place it into the bottom corner. The Chelsea loanee, who played in an FA Cup final but was on the wrong end of the outcome against his former club Leicester back in 2021. And before this Palace corner, with the scoreline Palace 0, Millwall 0, Kamil Negli is down again here, the Algerian. The club record signing for Millwall in January. They paid in excess of £3 million for him, and actually he's not going to be able to continue either. So this first half for Millwall is going from bad to really bad. They've lost Liam Roberts to that straight red card, their goalkeeper, so they've already had to make a change in that respect. And now Negli, their superstar winger, the number 56, is trotting off towards this near side. Let's go straight to Deepdale, because there's been a goal in that Lancashire derby, Lee Blakeman.
What a goal! Preston 1, Burnley 0. Robbie Brady, free kick to the right of centre, 25 yards out, left foot up and over the wall into the top corner. Keeper full stretch, no chance. What a goal! Preston 1, Burnley 0.
You can watch that on the BBC iPlayer. You can listen to it online as well. Radio commentary via the BBC Sport website. I'm sure the atmosphere up there today, as it is here, Stephen Warnock at Selhurst Park, is going to be sizzling. It certainly sounds like it.
Oh, it certainly does. I mean, sounds like a great game. We just need our atmosphere to pick back up again. There's a little bit of stop-start within this first half because of the injuries and the sending off. But so far we've had a cracking game.
So Rice Bangura Williams has come on for Kamil Negli, so that's Millwall's second substitution of this first half. It's a Palace corner in front of the Holmesdale on the far side to us, the left. Ezra with the short one, back off Hughes, has crossed into the box, is cleared, collected again by Chilwell. Touch was tight, he was cleared out, but the referee's playing the advantage. Palace have got it, they've got it on the byline on the left with Ezra, who's cut it back for Hughes. It's gone in. Palace have scored the opening goal. There was a big deflection, I think perhaps off Tanganga in there, that carried it past Jensen, his goalkeeper. Hughes with a big smile on his face, the Palace midfielder, and in front of the vibrant Holmesdale, Palace collectively celebrate. They've scored the opening goal of this South London derby. Palace 1, 10-man Millwall 0.
Well, so often we talk about referees and the decision making of referees, and this is a magnificent little passage of play from Michael Oliver. There's a foul on Ben Chilwell and he puts his whistle to his mouth, but then he sees it fall to Eza in the Crystal Palace. Well, he's in the Millwall penalty box, and then he just feeds it back to Will Hughes, allowing play to continue. Will Hughes just looking to wrap his left foot around it into a dangerous area, and Tanganga, who's at the far post, it's just so quick, he just heads it into his own goal. It's not the greatest of headers from Tanganga, but it's such is the pace that it comes at him. It's so difficult to deal with. He's also got the keeper diving across him as he goes to deal with the situation. So unfortunate.
Yeah, he's probably ruined every time he comes to Selhurst Park, Japhet Tanganga. He was here in 2021 with Tottenham when he was sent off with two very quick yellow cards, and today he scored an own goal. Palace 1, Millwall 0. and all the noise, as you can imagine, is coming from the home supporters. But Millwall have got a throw on the far right hand side, which they've lobbed into the penalty area. The flick on to Coburn is dropped to the far post. Aziz was there. He's fired his effort over the top of the bar. So still Palace 1, Millwall 0.
Yeah, lovely long throw from Harding. They set that throw up again. Tanganga, he gets the first header, and as it comes into Coburn, he just makes a menace of himself, strong at the back post, and Aziz has never really got his balance right. He's trying to wrap his right foot around it as he swivels, fires it high, wide and handsome.
Let's go to our League 2 featured game at lunchtime. Salford against Bradford. Shojo Saka, how's that begun?
Well, Salford 0, second in the table, Bradford 0. We have had chances at both ends. The best opportunities are falling to Bradford. Sarcevic has dragged the left foot shot wide. Tommy Lee's hit the crossbar, and Jamie Walker's produced a really good save from the Salford keeper Jamie Jones. Salford just clear the ball away. Still Salford 0, Bradford 0 with 20 minutes played.
Chilwell's cross on the left for Palace, headed away by Tanganga and then hit from the edge of the area by Lerma. It's still loose inside that Millwall penalty area. Munoz has got it to the right hand side. Back outside of the box is Hughes, and then trying to turn it into a bit of space with Lerma. And now Millwall try and break down the left side with Aziz, but great backtracking by Jefferson Lerma. He gets a super reception from the Palace fans for doing the defensive work to win it back.
Yeah, he really does, but there's a real understanding about Crystal Palace's system and how to play it, and there's Chilwell, one of the players who's really getting a lot of space out on the left hand side, and Munoz on the opposite side. They're getting so much space in wide areas because they're playing narrow, and then one switch of the ball is allowing them that space. Millwall finding it really difficult to deal with it.
A goal in League 2 for Tranmere Rovers. They're 1-0 up against Port Vale. Christian Dennis has got the opening goal at Prenton Park. This is Lacroix for Palace, who are 1-0 up against Millwall. We've had their goalkeeper Liam Roberts sent off in this game for a kung fu kick, a high boot on Jean-Philippe Mateta outside of his penalty area very early on. Eza trying to play a 1-2 with Munoz. The one works, the two was a bit heavy from Eza, and through it goes to Lucas Jensen, the substitute goalkeeper on here for Millwall.
Countless switches of play from Crystal Palace into wide areas, and it was the same thing again as they switch it out onto that right hand side. Munoz is causing so many difficulties for left back Joe Bryant. He can't deal with it because he's going inside to deal with Ismail Assar. He feels like he's the danger, but then they're getting 2v1s, 3v2s down that side or both flanks. Millwall fan, it's so tough to deal with.
Bournemouth Wolves live from 3 o'clock this afternoon on 5 Live. We'll have Manchester City Plymouth at 5:45. Match of the day, FA Cup special tonight from 10:35 on BBC One. And don't forget, we've got lots of Champions League and Europa League football coming your way next week. We've got Villa in Belgium at Club Bruges, or Club Brugge as the official terminology is. PSV against Arsenal. Here's Chilwell, shoots. Oh, he's hit the crossbar, Chilwell. He was offside. There was a lob ball into the box. Chilwell looked like he'd gone too soon, and then on the volley has spun, smashed it, and it's come off Jensen's bar and gone out, but it doesn't matter because the flag was up anyway.
I was hoping it was got to be onside just for the technique and just the pure quality from Ben Chilwell. Looking at the ball as it's coming over his shoulder, one thing on his mind is just make good contact and just smashes it off the bar, as you say, Chris. But what an effort.
Yeah, so PSV Arsenal Tuesday in the Champions League, PSG Liverpool on Wednesday, and then we are in Spain in San Sebastian for Real Sociedad against Manchester United in the Europa League on Thursday. And we're also at Birmingham City today for their game against Wickham. Tom Gale.
Birmingham 1, Wickham 0. It's an assist for goalkeeper Ryan Allsop. Long ball chested by Gardner Hickman, hit on the volley, saved by Norris, but he couldn't keep it out of his own net. Birmingham 1, Wickham 0.
What's the latest with you, Adam Cottier, in that other League One lunchtime game between Wrexham and Bolton?
It's been quite a cagey game here, Chris. We've had 23 minutes. We've just had the first couple of big chances in the game. Jay Rodriguez firing over, and Sam Smith heading down into the ground and over the top of the bar as well. So Wrexham 0, Bolton 0.
Casper De Noor, the Millwall midfielder, has just left one in on Palace's midfielder Jefferson Lerma there. It was a bit of a I'm still here, you know, Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, you've got to be careful though, because what you don't want to do is lose another player, pick up a couple of silly bookings. You've got to be so careful with that.
former Belgium under-21 captain, Casper De Noor. He's 28 now, the Millwall midfielder. Here is Munoz. Palace are 1-0 up here against Millwall. An own goal from Japhet Tanganga after Will Hughes' shot was deflected in as Gay swells one into the box. Munoz is in there. He's tried to tee it up for Nketiah, who still managed to get to it. Nketiah. He then, the ball's been flicked in. Munoz, but again the flag is up for an offside. Munoz was racing away to celebrate. And actually, Michael Oliver is coming over to the assistant referee here because he wants to check that they've both seen the same thing in terms of who that ball came off, I guess, on its way to Munoz.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think the other thing he's looking at is the Nketiah incident. De Noor, again, has he fouled Nketiah? Has he taken him to the ground? And then as it ricochets into him...
Oh, the goal's been given. Michael Oliver has had that discussion with the assistant referee, and clearly they initially saw it differently, but now they're agreeing, and Daniel Munoz is running away, and in front of the Holmesdale, he's on one knee, he's pointing up to the sky, and Palace are 2-0 up against Millwall here with 5 minutes of the first half to go.
It's a really good spot and good officiating again, making sure that you're communicating with your team. And a little discussion, make sure that you understand, like you say, who the ball came off, who it ricocheted off to go into the path of Munoz. Really smart finish from Munoz, just hits it with the outside of his foot, but it's a clearance that actually comes back off Billy Mitchell and it falls to the feet of Munoz. So it's good that the communication's been there. Crystal Palace find themselves 2-0 ahead.
So that is Daniel Munoz's second FA Cup goal of this season, having scored at Doncaster in round 4. He's got 4 Premier League goals as well. He is turning into quite the penalty box predator, isn't he, the Colombian?
Oh, he is. He's been magnificent since he came to the football club, and a lot of people don't like playing that wing-back role. He loves it. He thrives in it. Defensively, yes, he can improve, but from an attacking aspect, he's absolutely brilliant at his job.
So Millwall with this big mountain to climb now, as a high ball forward bounces out of play for a Palace goal kick. It is Crystal Palace 2, Millwall 0 in the final few minutes of this first half. Is it still just the one goal that divides Preston and Burnley, Lee Blakeman?
It is, Chris. Still Preston 1, Burnley 0. Burnley so close to an equaliser though. Luca Koleosho bursting into the area left side, let fly, great hard and low shot, flashed straight across the face of goal and wide as they try one from distance here, but Brownhill's shot is blocked, so still Preston 1, Burnley 0.
Burnley conceding, I mean, that's a story in itself, isn't it, given what's been going on in recent, I was going to say weeks, it's months really for Burnley.
Yeah, JJ Watt can stay in retirement now, can't he?
I think it was league only, wasn't it?
Was it?
Here's Hughes lifting it in, Chilwell back across goal, Nketiah's in there. He went towards that near post, Eddie Nketiah. He had to be inventive with it. He flicked his right boot at it, and it's gone about 3 or 4 yards wide of the post.
They're running riot, aren't they, Crystal Palace? Every time that they come forward, they look like they're going to create, they're going to score. Too much freedom of the pitch. They need to organise and understand how to stop this switch of play to the wide players, because they're just getting too much of the ball.
So those 2 Palace goals, an own goal from Tanganga 33 minutes in, and Daniel Munoz, who was initially flagged for offside by the assistant referee, but goal given after a conversation between him and Michael Oliver. And with Millwall down to 10 with the red card for Liam Roberts, this is already feeling like a long Saturday afternoon for those who have made the very short trip.
Yeah, you said about Tanganga having a difficult time coming here. I just saw the replay again, and Billy Mitchell actually tries to clear the ball. It ricochets off the chest of Tanganga into the path of Munoz, so he's got an assist as well for Crystal Palace.
Never want to come here again, will he, Japhet Tanganga? Up it goes towards Coburn from the goalkeeper Jensen. He's muscled out of it by Lacroix, and collecting possession. Palace keeping possession with Will Hughes 15 yards outside his own penalty area. Palace going from left to right on this lovely Saturday afternoon in the 100th meeting between these two clubs, Palace and Millwall. 8th time they've come across each other in the FA Cup. It was a very famous Millwall FA Cup win here back in 1985 when they won a replay by 2-1. Millwall fans will know that cup run well because they went on to beat Chelsea and Leicester City in that competition on that particular year before eventually succumbing to Luton. Here's Hughes outside the Millwall penalty area, tried to slide it in, Millwall clear, then Hughes has gone bashing into Aziz. No free kick given, and Daniel Munoz has worked very hard on this near right hand side to stop it from going out for a throw, so Palace rebuild again.
It should have gone down there, Aziz. It was a foul from Will Hughes. More pressure, another corner. No, it's a throw in, but just the pressure that Crystal Palace are putting on Millwall. Very difficult for Millwall to even get a foothold in the game and get any type of possession and take a little bit of pressure off themselves.
Go back to Deepdale very, very shortly, but Palace are going to have a throw here from this right inside. In fact, let's quickly go there now, because there's been a second goal now. Preston Burnley lead.
A second for Preston. They lead Burnley 2-0. Militaner's Majic, who's at the centre of these racism accusations, has got the goal, and he's just ran to the away end and copped his ear as he celebrated scoring. Preston 2, Burnley 0.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be plenty more conversation around that developing story at Deepdale today. So Preston 2, Burnley 0 here, Palace 2, Millwall 0, and this is Hughes, who is halfway inside Millwall's half on this right hand side. I think we are moving into stoppage time, though I didn't actually see how long is going to be indicated because of one of the many giant pillars that are in my way here, so we'll come back to that in a moment. Palace keeping possession, keeping Millwall really engaged here. Certainly the Millwall backline. There are 13 minutes, Stephen Warnock, of added time, so a long way to go still in the first half here.
Yeah, we knew there was going to be a lot of added on time with the injury to Mateta within those first sort of 7 minutes or so.
Eza into the box for Nketiah, who's had a goal ruled out through offside in this first half amongst the ones Palace have scored, and it comes from the left side of the box, but out of the reach of all. Gay's saying somebody should have been on the end of it. He's got his arms outstretched either side of him, the Palace centre half, asking questions of his forwards there, but out it goes for a goal kick. So let's take the chance to go back into League 2. Salford Bradford, Shojo Saka.
Salford 1, Bradford 0. 20-year-old Frankie Okoronkwo on loan from Everton with a super strike. He brought the ball down from the sky, definitely on the touch, just inside the box, and unleashed a lovely shot into the top corner. Brandon Keller should have scored for Bradford just a couple of minutes earlier, but at the moment Salford 1, Bradford 0.
And an equaliser also in League 2 for Port Vale. It's now Tranmere 1, Port Vale 1. Ronan Curtis has got the visitors back at 1 apiece. So here Palace with the ball on the halfway line with Eza. It's short into the feet of Gay, and I'm seeing many supporters inside this stadium having to shield their faces from the penetrating sunshine that is coming into this ground. There is only really one little area inside the Millwall penalty area that Lucas Jensen is currently in, the Millwall goalkeeper, that is in the shadows. Otherwise it is just one of those glorious FA Cup afternoons.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? As we were walking to the ground this morning, it was quite hazy actually, and I wondered what the day would be like, but it's broke out now. It's beautiful. It's not as warm up here though, not gonna lie. It's a little bit chilly up here.
Yeah, coats are still required, and this is your first experience as well of the press facilities on this side of the ground, Stephen. I know you've done some TV here.
Yeah, it's I quite like it though. It's nice. We've got the heaters behind us, we've got the toilets very close, so we don't have to worry about half time when you need the toilet. It's very good. Very impressed.
These are all important aspects of a commentary. Palace in possession on the halfway line, 2-0 up against Millwall. Half time now between Preston and Burnley, Lee Blakeman.
Preston 2, Burnley 0. A brilliant free kick from Robbie Brady for the first. Postage stamp from 25 yards, just brilliant. And then Militaner's Majic slotted in the second. He's being investigated, cupped his ears at the away end as he celebrated that goal. Preston 2, Burnley 0 at half time.
Well, Millwall 12th in the Championship, 11 wins from their 34 games so far. But here they have just found Palace too hot to handle, not helped by the fact they lost Liam Roberts, their goalkeeper, to that very early red card. Here is Femi Aziz, and unfortunately, as he loses out to Chris Richards in Palace's right back area, is one of those afternoons that just isn't favouring Millwall's forward players now, because ultimately they are having to do a lot of work off the ball. Here come Palace again, sweeping forward down the left with Chilwell up to the far post. Munoz leaps for it, he's beaten to it in the air by Bryan, and out it goes for a Palace throw on this near right hand side, straight to Ellen Road. Leeds West Brom, watching is John Bennett.
Leeds 1, West Brom 0. It's all Leeds, but they've had a great chance, West Brom. Adam Armstrong through on goal, tight angle left hand side, smothered and pushed away for a corner by Meslier. Leeds 1, West Brom 0.
Adam Armstrong, who is on loan from Southampton, as Jefferson Lerma takes this Palace throw from the right hand side, deep inside Millwall's half, headed away to the edge of the box where Hughes wins it for Palace. Richards got his toe on it, and then it's hooked clear by Billy Mitchell, Millwall's number 8 in midfield. Munoz brings it down on the halfway line, spins away from Josh Coburn, then gets it forward to Sarr, into the feet of Lerma on this near right hand side, back from Munoz. We've played 5 minutes of the 13 that have been indicated for stoppage time.
Yeah, Crystal Palace just enjoying themselves now. They can force it if they want to. They can really go at Millwall, but they're almost using this as a training ground exercise now, just passing it round, not really wanting to exert too much energy. They'll feel that this game should be done.
Hughes' cross on the left into the box, cleared away by Tanganga, then Lacroix on the edge of Millwall's penalty area is too overeager really to get there. He's tried to leap above Josh Coburn, who is probably a couple of inches taller than Lacroix, and he's fouled the Millwall forward, so free kick to the visitors. But Palace 2-0 up.
Yeah, they're a big team, Millwall, and what surprised me is they've had Crystal Palace now 2 throw-ins, and they've opted to go long. Lerma's come across to take the throws, and Millwall have dealt with that situation really easy. What they can't deal with is short, intricate passing, so you wonder why it's not being thrown into someone's feet early and then get 2v1s, 3v2s as we've seen throughout the first half.
Do have a good recent record, Millwall, of knocking out Premier League teams from the FA Cup. They dismissed Bournemouth in 2017 and then did the same to Everton in 2019, one of the more memorable games in recent years in this competition. As Chilwell scampers forward down the left, Bangura Williams slides in, fouls him, takes his legs away, and he's booked as well, the Millwall substitute. So yellow card for Reyes Bangura Williams.
Yeah, great pace from Ben Chilwell. He just felt that he had to make that challenge because he was never catching Ben Chilwell. But now we see a player on a yellow card, and we spoke earlier on about what you cannot do is lose another player. 10 men's hard enough. If you go down to 9, it's going to be so difficult.
And Millwall are right up against it here. Mentioned that red card for Roberts, but they've lost Kamil Negli as well to injury. Their exciting forward player who started on the right wing but wasn't able to continue in the first half, so they've used 2 substitute windows, Millwall, already in this game, and they are 2-0 down to Crystal Palace, who have got the ball on the halfway line with Chris Richards. Where are we going next on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds this afternoon? Let's go to Wrexham Bolton, shall we, Adam Cottier?
It remains 0-0 here, but Bolton have just come very close to scoring. Sheehan, the captain, with a free kick that was initially blocked. It came back to him, left foot shot. It went a fraction wide of the post via a deflection. It remains Wrexham 0, Bolton 0.
Ball down the left-hand side, just a smidge too heavy for Abera Eza, who even with his speedy legs couldn't quite keep it in, and he's stumbling as he almost falls into the Holmesdale. It's a Millwall goal kick.
Yeah, it's a couple of times they've tried that ball now. They're trying to split the centre-back and full-back of Millwall, play the ball in between them. I thought Eze could have actually crossed that first time. The ball was on, and he was never going to be able to take a touch and slow himself down and get himself back in play. Just overran it then, but again, it's just pick your pass for Crystal Palace, and Millwall can't deal with it.
He's been more of an assist man this season, hasn't he, Abera Eza, than the goals. He's got 2 in the Premier League, but when you look at his previous campaigns, 10 and 11 in his past 2 respectively. The ball is cleared out of play by Cooper under pressure from Nketiah on the edge of his penalty area, the Millwall defender. So he's swept it out for a Palace throw on this near right hand side. Jefferson Lerma is trotting over to take it with over 50 Colombian caps to his name. Took his country to the Copa America final last year, and Lerma, with the ball in his hands, takes the throw from this right hand side. It's flicked on by Gay. There was a shout for a handball from many Palace fans and a few Palace players inside that box, but Michael Oliver didn't see it, was perhaps on the wrong side of it, and as Aziz puts the ball out of play, he's now stopping play, Michael Oliver, so they can have a quick look at the footage. And while this is happening, we're going back to Ellen Road, because, John Bennett,
An equaliser for West Brom. Leeds 1, West Brom 1. It's Darnell Furlong with a header. A free kick played to him back post, and he looped it over the goalkeeper. They have been building in confidence, West Brom, and now they've got the equaliser. Leeds 1, West Brom 1.
Well, they've had a quick look at that potential penalty check there. Stephen, I know you were reviewing the footage very carefully to see whether Josh Coburn had used his arm inside his own box there.
No, his arms were down by the side. He tried to actually move them out the way, and so often when the ball hits your arm, it makes your arm sort of move backwards, and I think that's what people are thinking, that he'd almost tried to let that happen.
Nketiah's cross into the box. It bounces once, and then it's caught by Lucas Jensen, who joined from Lincoln last year with Millwall. It was their player of the season actually in the last campaign, and he's bowled it out to Wes Harding, the right back. But Millwall, with their 10 men, are feeling the heat here. Bangura Williams 15 yards inside his own half into the feet of Mitchell. They're just struggling to get any passages of play together at all, Millwall, with their depleted numbers.
Yeah, there's just no ideas and there's no confidence to be able to retain the ball. But Crystal Palace are so organised in the press and the way that they go after Millwall. I spoke before about the understanding of the system. They know how to play this. They know where the danger signs are. They know where they don't want to get exposed, and they're so clever at doing that.
So we've played 56 minutes now of this first half because of that lengthy delay, because of the head injury to Jean-Philippe Mateta, who left on a stretcher earlier. As Lerma lifts it into the box, Munoz jumps for it, so does Joe Bryan, the former Bristol City and Fulham defender, and he heads it behind. It's a Palace corner as they go from left to right in this first half, and they are 2-0 up against Millwall.
It's a dream for a wing-back in Crystal Palace's system today, how high they're playing. They're almost playing as wingers, and high wingers as well. You've got Ismaila Sarr and Eze playing as two number 10s, but they're playing on the shoulders of the two centre backs as well, to make sure that they're forcing this Millwall back four as deep as they can.
It's the voice of the former Liverpool, Blackburn, Villa and Leeds amongst others. Defender Stephen Warnock with us here on 5
Be there all day.
Might be. Hughes spins it in. I haven't got time for that. I've got a corner to talk about. In it comes. It's caught by Jensen. And Millwall have got the ball back, and I think from here, as we move into the final minute or so of this first half, they are just going to want to get into these Selhurst Park dressing rooms, Millwall, and have the chance to recalibrate, to catch their thoughts, as Bangura Williams tries to poke one down the right wing just inside Palace's half. It's blocked, it's bounced out of play off Bangura Williams, so it's a Palace throw, and there is no urgency at all from them to take it.
Now, it's so difficult for Millwall, because when they look up, they see Coburn, and you're saying, okay, do we go a little bit more direct to him? But then we've got to get numbers around him. You take a gamble, you go forward, then you get caught out and you leave your teammates light in defence. Such a tricky situation, but you've got to be brave, you've got to want the ball. But it's very easy saying, sat here, that's that situation. When you're on the pitch, you feel like you're a million miles away from where you want to be.
That red card for Liam Roberts just 8 minutes in, a proper game-changing moment in so many respects. And obviously, if we can get an update on Jean-Philippe Mateta's welfare too, we will bring that to you here on 5 Live, because he's ultimately the reason why we've had such a long delay, these 13 minutes of stoppage time, because of the head injury to Mateta. As Nketiah fouls Tanganga as the ball came forward towards Nketiah, just outside the Millwall penalty area. So free kick to the Championship side, Palace 2, Millwall 0. Final few seconds. Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, you just feel with Nketiah, he needs to get used to coming short to play. When you look at Lerma and Will Hughes, they want to fire it into him. They want him to come off and come short.
Here's Aziz, he's got around a couple here for Millwall, he's into the box, he's fired it across, Turner got a hand to it, and there's Harding. Oh, Millwall has scored. Harding's found the corner, and from absolutely nowhere, suddenly we've got a cup tie again. It's Wes Harding with his right foot, and he's picked out the corner. There might have been a little deflection on its way in. Turner's beaten, and Palace, from a position of great comfort, deep in first half stoppage time, might be feeling the nerves again. Palace 2, Millwall 1.
Yeah, brilliant play from Aziz on that left hand side, but it's really poor from both Richards and Munoz. They have to deal with that situation. He worms his way through two of the players, and as it comes out to Wes Harding, there's one thing on his mind: hit it low, hit it hard, and you just never know. It's pushed out into his path by Matt Turner, but it's a really smart finish. As I say, Your luck is in, your luck's in. He just strikes it. A little bit of a deflection off Chilwell, then another one off Lacroix, and it's Lacroix, sorry. And then Millwall with a great situation as they go into half-time now.
Yeah, and the whistle for half-time has gone. Palace restarted, and Michael Oliver said that is that. And as they say, Stephen Warnock, we have a game all of a sudden, and it really is, from a Millwall perspective, the perfect time to score.
Oh, it is the ideal situation for Millwall. Just to get that goal before half-time changes everything when you go into that team talk at half-time. From Crystal Palace's point of view, it's been a stroll in the park. It's been so easy, and now they'll be going in and they'll be pointing fingers at each other saying that's not good enough. We shouldn't be allowing Millwall to get back into the game. From our point of view, we're delighted. Hopefully we've got a little bit more on the line in the second half.
Yeah, a South London derby that's had plenty. A red card for Millwall's goalkeeper Liam Roberts 8 minutes on. That injury, 8 minutes in, that injury to Mateta, the head injury that's forced him off. The Palace goals, an own goal from Tanganga, then one from Munoz that was initially flagged for offside. But Wes Harding getting Millwall back into it in the 13th minute of first half stoppage time, and at the break, Crystal Palace 2, Millwall 1.
Millwall desperately needed that goal. England desperately needed a wicket. Stefan Schemmel.
Archer's delivered again. He's bowled Ryan Rickleton for 27, and if there's been one tiny bright spot of England's Champions Trophy campaign, it's been Jofra Archer's new ball bowling. He's got both wickets to fall, but South Africa 52 for 2 in chase of 180, still well in charge.
Thank you very much, Stefan. So much more from Stephen Warnock and Chris Wise to come at Selhurst Park. Millwall back in the tie, even though they're down to 10 men. Half-time, Palace 2, Millwall 1. Let's go around the early games in the EFL. We'll start with the Championship. Leeds United, West Brom. John Bennett.
We're into injury time at the end of the first half. Leeds United 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. Darnell Furlong with the equaliser. West Brom have gained confidence as this game has gone on, but Leeds trying to get a goal before half-time. They're dominating at the end of this first half. Leeds 1, West Brom 1.
What about the start to the Valerian Ismail era? Closing in on half-time, Blackburn Norwich. Julia Bold.
It is Blackburn 0, Norwich 0 as we are into additional time here at Ewood Park. Both sides have had good chances to go in front. Slimani, who was centre of goal, completely unmarked for Norwich, should have put them in front, while Maktargay's close range header should have also given the home side the lead. We've also had an injury to Lewis Dobbin, who's had to limp off as well. Right now though, somehow it remains goalless. Blackburn 0, Norwich 0.
So as it stands, Blackburn Rovers dropping out of the top 6 and Coventry City replacing them because Laura Kenyon.
It's Oxford United 1, Coventry 0. 1 minute into 4 added on, a narrow lead for the playoff chasers, who arguably should be further ahead. Jack Rodoni flung himself at a Sakamoto cross for the goal. He shook off a heavy landing and has been a real bright spark for Coventry. For Oxford United, nothing clinical in front of goal, and it's fast becoming a real problem for them. No goals in now 4.5 games almost. It's Coventry 1. Coventry 1, Oxford United 0.
Into League 1, no Jay Stansfield, no problem for leaders Birmingham City. Tom Gale.
Most definitely the case, Steve. Birmingham 1, Wickham 0. Close to 80% possession for the home side, as we're now into a minimum of 5 minutes of added time. And in the 45th minute, the visitors having their first corner of the game. It only looks to be one outcome as it stands. It's Birmingham 1, Wickham 0.
Birmingham moving 14 points clear of third place. Wrexham, as it stands, they're at home to Bolton. Adam Cottier.
0-0 here, and Bolton have come the closest to scoring right at the end of the first half. Jordi Asay 2-2 with a run down the left of the box. He got into the area, hit a left foot shot. It clipped the top of the crossbar. Josh Sheehan, their captain, curled a shot narrowly wide just before that. Sam Smith and Jay Rodriguez have missed presentable opportunities for Wrexham. They haven't won at home since January the 4th, Wrexham, and they are goalless with Bolton here at the break.
Tranmere Rovers 1, Port Vale 1 is a half-time score in League 2. That's Tranmere Rovers, who are now under Andy Crosby following the sacking of Nigel Adkins. What about Salford City, Bradford City? Shojo Saka.
Well, it's Salford 1, Bradford 0. We're into the third minute of 5 minutes added at the end of the first half. This is turning out to be quite a tough game for second in the table, Bradford City. It is Salford who are leading, and Bradford have had 5 chances at the other end. It's a combination of good saves, crossbars hit, and some glaring misses as well. That's put Bradford left Bradford behind. It's still Salford 1, Bradford 0.
Back into League One, Wycombe trailing at Birmingham, and now Tom Gale.
Down to 10, Steve. It might be game over in first half stoppage time. Birmingham 1, Wycombe 0. Ball over the top. It's a lunge by Xavier Simmons on loan from Hull City. He clips the ankle of Ethan Laird. The referee, Bentona, he initially went to his right pocket for a yellow, but then after a few more seconds thought, showed him a straight red. We've still got 3 minutes of the minimum 5 to be added on. It's a Birmingham corner. It's Birmingham 1, Wycombe 0.
So we've only just had the half-time whistle at Selhurst Park because of a really nasty-looking head injury to Jean-Philippe Mateta that delayed the game by about 15 minutes. That means that we're already underway in the second half in the other last 16 lunchtime game. Preston-Burnley, Lee Blakeman.
Preston 2, Burnley 0. The first goal that separated the two teams was an awesome free kick, Steve, from Robbie Brady, just to the right of centre, 25 yards out, left foot over the wall into the top corner, and then to make it 2-0, the man who's been in the headlines since these two teams last met, Militon Asmajic, played through on goal by Brad Potts. He scored in front of an away end packed by more than 5,000 Burnley supporters and cocked both of his ears as he celebrated that goal as well, because he's been booed quite heavily. And with 90 seconds gone in the second half, it's Preston 2, Burnley 0.
One of the scores to bring you up to date within the FA Trophy. It's quarter-finals day. Sittingbourne 0, Aldershot 0. Half-time whistle just a few moments away. Second half commentary on the way in the FA Cup. Crystal Palace 2, 10-man Millwall 1. After the news with Stuart Clarkson.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Steve, thank you. President Zelensky is meeting Sir Keir Starmer at Downing Street this afternoon after the Ukrainian leader's bruising meeting last night with President Trump at the White House. He's due to take part in a security summit being hosted by the Prime Minister in London tomorrow. In a social media post, Mr Zelensky said America's support for his country was crucial. Here's our political correspondent Helen Catt.
It is very much now up to the UK to balance this diplomatic hot potato and make sure that things go without a hitch this weekend. The summit that they're having tomorrow is also now taking place in a very different context to the one that they thought it would. What they're going into now is talking about European action, which is the point of this summit, but against a backdrop of less secure American support. And that really does change the dynamic when those European leaders meet tomorrow.
In Ukraine, officials say another 6 people have been killed in the past day, most of them in the eastern Donetsk region. They say a Russian drone hit homes, shops and a hospital in the city of Kharkiv. The Vatican says Pope Francis is resting after suffering what was described as a breathing crisis yesterday. The Pope, who's 88, has been in hospital for over a fortnight now with pneumonia. Police in Nottingham are investigating the stabbing of a 17-year-old boy who's been left with serious injuries at what they believe was a flat party. An 18-year-old and 5 17-year-olds have been arrested. And Prince William has delivered his first video message in Welsh to wish the people of Wales a happy St David's Day.
Super League. We can hopefully try and get it out to worldwide audiences.
Super League heads to the USA.
We don't want to go to bed. We want to watch more Rugby League.
Wigan Warriors take on Warrington Wolves live in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, to be able to get hopefully so many eyes on this great game.
It's really exciting, the type of things that they do.
Run as hard as you can, tackle as hard as you can.
Tonight from 9:30.
Ask your smart speaker to play 5 Sports Extra.
This is 5 Live Sport.
The FA Cup with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Right, let's just bring you up to date with the half-time scores as they start to come in. In our commentary game, it's Crystal Palace 2, 10-man Millwall 1 at the break. There's just been a goal before half-time in that FA Trophy quarter-final. Aldershot have taken the lead, so they're 1-0 up at Sittingbourne. In the Championship, 3 half-times. Blackburn 0, Norwich 0, Leeds 1, West Brom 1 and Oxford United 0, Coventry City 1. In League 1, it's Birmingham 1, Wycombe 0, Wycombe down to 10, Wrexham 0, Bolton 0. And in League 2, Salford 1, Bradford City 0 and Tranmere 1, Port Vale 1. In the FA Cup last 16, let's check back in at Deepdale. Preston Burnley, Lee Blakeman.
Preston still leading 2-0, Steve, but they're pushing for a third. They've got the ball on the left at the moment. Brady's just put a cross in from that area. Nobody could get on the end of it. Potts has put a cross in from the right. Nobody could quite get the final touch on that either. But it's all Preston at the moment in the opening 5 minutes of the second half. Preston 2, Burnley 0.
You can listen to that one right now on the BBC Sport website, and at second half commentary on the way very shortly from Selhurst Park. But of course, we're keeping our eyes on England, South Africa in that final game of England's Champions Trophy. Stefan Schemmelt, how are they getting on?
They haven't got hope yet, Steve, but they might have hope of hope.
Right.
South Africa are 58 for 2, chasing 180. Jofra Archer is still going with the new ball. He's into the 6th over of his spell. He's bowled both Tristan Stubbs for a duck and Ryan Rickleton for 27. Rassie van der Dussen is there on 17, Heinrich Klaassen on 6. But the stand-in South Africa captain, Aidan Markram, he picked up an injury out in the field as well. South Africa say he'll bat if he can, but his mobility might be a little bit restricted. I think it was his left leg that he hurt. So South Africa at the minute 58 for 2, chasing 180. Should have the game in their grasp. Archer's overs running out as well. But one more wicket for England, maybe. Hope of hope.
Hope of hope. And what about moving forward with England's captaincy then? There's one name that's on most people's lips, but not everybody thinks it should be Harry Brook.
Yeah, and it's a great question to ask, and I'm glad that I'm not the person making that decision. And that Brendan McCullum and Rob Key, who are the men in charge of England's men's cricket at the moment, they're going to have a lot of thinking to do over the coming weeks. And what's really interesting about this situation is that McCullum has been put in charge of the Test and the white ball teams. And one of the biggest problems that English cricket has had over recent years is juggling those competing focuses. Remember when England were the best white ball team in the world and the Test performances dropped off as well. And McCullum was put in charge of both teams because there was an idea that the schedules were easing. And they have, to a degree. But if Harry Brook does become the white ball captain, he's still going to be really, really busy. Since he made his England debut a couple of years ago, back at the back end of 2022, he's played more England men's games than anyone else. Take this summer, for example, England's first test against, or only test against Zimbabwe in May. I think it's 4 days later that the first one-day international against the West Indies. Can Harry Brook, who might have been at the IPL into the later stages, play in that test match, then lead England for the first time as full-time captain against the West Indies? So these are all the things that England have got to weigh up going forward. And if they are going to boost and reinvigorate their white ball cricket, it is a massive year for Test cricket. India at home, Australia away.
Is one of the big complexities here that obviously the whole Brendan McCullum era is built around entertainment, and you hear the players a lot talking about, you know, we want to entertain first and then come results. But now he's in charge of red ball and white ball. You heard Jos Buttler say it. He talked about results. England players don't tend to do that. But the difference is, in white ball cricket, you can get knocked out of competitions, as England have been knocked out of this competition. So is it going to be impossible going forward from a white ball perspective to keep that messaging that's been around the red ball game, because they're now intrinsically linked?
Yeah, I suppose the first thing to say is there's a little bit of time before the next white ball competition. So England have got a good year until the next T20 World Cup, but that comes hot on the heels of that Ashes tour away in Australia. The next 50 over World Cup isn't until 2027, and that in theory should be the end of Brendan McCullum's reign in charge of English cricket. That's when his contract comes to an end. One problem England have got, or one problem this iteration of the white ball team have got, is they are following England's greatest ever. In 2019, they were 50 over world champions. In 2022, they did the double to become double world champions in both formats. Jos Buttler followed England's greatest captain ever in Owen Morgan. Always going to be a really, really hard act to follow. And in some ways, the white ball cricket has reverted to the mean. England have been mediocre in white ball cricket for as long as I can remember. But that doesn't mean that they should be. England are well resourced. They're part of the big three with India and Australia. They've got the biggest player bases, the biggest resources, the biggest funding. They play the most. There is no reason why England men's national team should not be strong in Test cricket and strong in white ball cricket at the same time. How they do that is up to Brendan McCullum and Rob Key in the coming weeks. Do they keep what McCullum is trying to do in this convergence between the personnel of the Test and the white ball team, or do they go back to what we had before, which was a little bit of a separation?
Stefan, thank you very much for the time being. Much more to come from Chris Wokes later this afternoon as well. South Africa 59 for 2. They need 121 from 39 overs to beat England. So England certainly second favourites at the minute. We'll be back at Selhurst shortly. Second half commentary in the FA Cup. Crystal Palace 2, 10-man Millwall 1. When we're done with that, a team who can entertain and get results. An all Premier League tie in the FA Cup. Bournemouth Wolves. Ali Bruce Ball is already in position.
I am indeed, Steve. Sparkling sunshine on the south coast and very exciting technically. Obviously, we got, the VAR and the semi-automated offsides and all of that in the FA Cup fifth round. We're just getting rigged up here, Steve, in our commentary position, so that if and when referee Christopher Kavanagh makes an announcement to the stadium after a VAR review, you will hear it loud and clear on the 5 Live mics as well. And I can just see the Wolves fullback Rayan Aït-Nouri giving a pre-match interview as well. So, yes, it's the only fifth round side that kicks off at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we're here.
Ali, thank you very much. So Ali Bruce Ball and Rob Green will bring you commentary of that at 3 o'clock. But we still have a cup tie on at Selhurst Park, just about. Palace 2, 10-man Millwall 1. The second half with Stephen Warnock and Chris Wise.
Yes, that goal from Wes Harding for Millwall in the 13th minute of first half stoppage time has slightly altered the complexion of this FA Cup tie, though there is much work for the Championship team to do with their 10 men after that early red card for Liam Roberts, the goalkeeper of Millwall. The two teams are back onto the pitch at the start of this second half. And Stephen Warnock, I was listening to Steve Parish, who was talking to our colleagues on BBC One at half time. He was down on the pitch side in front of us as the second half begins, speaking to Kelly Summers, who was asking him about Jean-Philippe Mateta's welfare. First of all, he said he's got a bad gash behind the ear. He's in hospital and he's got a head injury. But he also said, we need to talk about that challenge because, and I quote Steve Parish, he said, it's the most reckless challenge I've ever seen in football. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I can understand his frustration. I understand his frustration at the challenge. I think what you have to understand is that he goes for the ball, he kicks the ball, and then it's the follow through. He was talking about his age. I think it's just the momentum in which he goes to get the ball. So I think once he sees it again, he's a little bit calmer, he's not as emotional. I think he'll understand that there is a genuine attempt, but it is a poor challenge. Let's not get away from that, and we just hope that Mateta's in a better place come the end of tonight.
Yeah, so we're underway in the second half. We played a minute of it. Palace are in possession, going from right to left in their red and blue striped shirts, the blue shorts and the blue socks, in glorious sunshine in the capital, as Will Hughes gives it into the feet of Mark Gay and back onto the halfway line with Maxence Lacroix. I'll give you the two teams in a minute, but let's see how the second half has begun at Deepdale in the other FA Cup fifth round game that got underway at the same time as this one between Preston and Burnley, and watching there is Lee Blakeman.
Should be all over, Chris. Preston 2, Burnley 0, but Preston have just had a great chance. Kane, Kessler Hayden through on goal, just the keeper to beat 12 yards out, and he cleared the crossbar. Preston 2, Burnley 0.
Cheers, Lee. Ball's back with the Palace goalkeeper Matt Turner. So Palace with Turner in goal, Richards, Lacroix and Gay as the three centre halves, Munoz and Chilwell the wing backs, and then Lerma and Hughes in midfield, Eza and Sarr either side of Eddie Nketiah because of that early head injury for Jean-Philippe Mateta, who did start the game. Here's Chilwell running forward down the left-hand side. He's brought it down well, Chilwell. He's tried to backheel to get a corner there out of Harding, who wasn't to be fooled by that, the Millwall goal scorer, who's making only his third appearance of the season for Millwall today, and he's got a goal to go with it. And Millwall have got the ball again with Harding in that right back berth. Forward it goes, stopped by Lacroix, the Palace centre half, retrieved by Lerma, who goes short into the feet of Gay, up towards Eza. The Millwall team now with Lucas Jensen in goal after Roberts sending off, Harding, Tanganga, Cooper and Bryan, Denor and Mitchell, and then Bangura Williams on as a first half substitute, and Aziz either side of Coburn. They are playing with 10 men, Millwall, and Palace have got the ball and have started the first 3 minutes, Stephen Warnock, of this second half, camped inside Millwall territory just as they were for much of the first half, as Munoz swings it in. It's headed away by the tall Jake Cooper, picked up again by Nketiah, just had it taken off his toes, and Millwall clear their lines.
Yeah, Millwall almost reverted to a 5-3-1 formation, just such as the dominance of Crystal Palace when they come forward, and the two wing backs are forcing the wide players as deep as they can possibly go. And you're looking at Aziz in the first half, who provided the assist for the goal, or provided that moment that led to Millwall getting the goal. He's playing as a left back now. He cannot get higher up the pitch because of Munoz forcing him so far back.
Yeah, and there are 3,781 Millwall fans, many of which are shielding their face from the sunshine in the stand opposite us, the Arthur Waite stand, named after one of Palace's former chairmen. Talking of their current one, Steve Parish, here is Nketiah into the feet of Eza, tried to get it back again on the edge of Millwall's box. That's intercepted. It's brought clear by Tanganga, who's then taken off him by Gay, the two number 6s coming together there, and Palace with Lerma lifting it into the box and caught by Lucas Jensen, who stretches his green gloves skybound and claims the ball.
Yeah, they've got to be better in possession when they win it back, Millwall. You've got to have an outlet. You just wonder whether Coburn needs to be stronger when he receives the ball up to his chest, or just pull into a wide area where one of the wing backs has gone forward, and just know that you can hit that diagonal ball into him and relieve a little bit of pressure. If he doesn't win the first one, it might just run out for a throw-in higher up the pitch.
Here's Harding down the right-hand side. He's done well. He's got a corner out of Ben Chilwell there. He's dragged Chilwell down towards the corner flag and then has deviated the ball onto his right foot and is bounced off Chilwell's shins. And Millwall, going from left to right in all grey, have got a corner at the start of this second half. Palace 2, Millwall 1 the scoreline.
Well, Joe Bryant will be coming across to take it. That left foot of his, got lovely delivery. Now it's about making sure that this might be the only corner you get, but it might be the one that leads to an equalising goal, so that quality has to be there from him.
Look at Jake Cooper amongst all of them. The Millwall centre-half stands out a mile. He is absolutely huge. He's making his way to the far post. That is where the ball's going. It's headed away to the edge of the penalty area, back in again by Mitchell for Millwall. Then Richards clears with his head, and Mitchell under a bit of pressure with Eze out to this near side. Eze catching Brian on the top of the boot, and Denor had to be pretty quick to get it back to his own goalkeeper there, Jensen, which he did. And Jensen slightly sending his clearance askew of where he wanted it to go. Then Tanganga jumps on the halfway line. He's pushed over, and it's a Millwall free kick. Palace 2, Millwall 1.
Yeah, we all want pretty football. We want to entertain as much as you can, but when you're down to 10 men, you've got to play the percentages, and that's what Millwall have just started to do these last couple of minutes. They've started to turn Crystal Palace, try and pick up the second balls.
So that Millwall free kick then sent forward by the Belgian Denor into the penalty area. Cooper won the header. Munoz has made a mess of the clearance. It's still loose inside the box. Aziz's shot. It's away as far as Harding. Harding hends it forward again. Munoz very calm, takes it down. Lots of noise around him from the Palace supporters about booting it clear, but he was content in himself that he had the time to take a touch there.
Yeah, a little bit of an opportunity there for Aziz. He should actually do better at the back post. He snatches at the shot with his right foot. He is a left-footed player, so the concentration level has to be better, but he just doesn't get the connection he wants, and credit to Chris Richards, he gets the block in. That was a big opportunity for Millwall.
More FA Cup football to come today. Bournemouth Wolves from 3 o'clock. We were hearing from Ali at half-time, and then we've got Manchester City against Plymouth from 5:45 tonight. All three of the games, including this one, live on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds. You can download the app if you haven't got it. It is well worth doing. Millwall have got a throw 7 minutes into this second half. It's only 3 or 4 yards in from the corner flag on this near right-hand side, and it feels, Stephen, like half-time has really helped Alex Neil's team.
Yeah, it has. Crystal Palace dominated the first 2 or 3 minutes of possession and had them camped in their own penalty box, but now they've just started to go a little bit more direct. Another long throw.
Yeah, Harding sending it into the Palace penalty area. The flick on is headed away by Lacroix out to this left back area for Palace, where Chilwell, under pressure from Harding, clears the ball into the Millwall man, and it's out for a Crystal Palace throw. We might be seeing some Millwall changes shortly.
Yeah, I just wonder whether he really will want to make those changes straight away now. There's 3 changes that he's looking to make, and you think, well, with the start that Millwall have made, why would you want to upset it? There's a rhythm now within the team, and often substitutes can change it, sometimes for the negative when you're on top of a game.
You see he's running himself into trouble just inside Palace's half. Hughes is clipped, but they've got the advantage, Palace, because they've got the ball as Lerma sweeps his pass to the left-hand side for Eze, who's moving up to the edge of the penalty area. Tried the deceptive pass in towards Chilwell, which wasn't a piece of deception that was fooling the Millwall defence, as Denor is over there now to hook it away on the half volley up towards Coburn, who's brought it down, and it's back with Denor, but Millwall have got it inside their own half at the moment, and again that high ball up towards Coburn, who is wrestling with Gay and has got the free kick. Josh Coburn,
he's done superb in the second half. Coburn, first half he might not have been on the pitch. I mean, he was that poor in the first half. Every time a ball went up, he was in the wrong position, never the right side of the pitch. Alex Neil definitely spoke to him at half time. 3 or 4 balls have gone up to him. He's pinned the defender. He's been stronger in the way that he's receiving the ball. If he doesn't win it, he's at least making them work hard to get a header, a free header on the ball. Now Millwall found themselves with another set piece.
Might remember Josh Coburn scored that very famous FA Cup stunning goal for Middlesbrough against Spurs at this stage, the 5th round a few years ago, as the free kick comes up to the edge of the penalty area. It's cleared away by Lacroix, and then Munoz winning it back again for Palace, and then Richards piercing the ball into midfield for Hughes. Hughes infield to the left hand side for Eza. Palace 2, Millwall 1. Here come the Premier League team with Abera Eza with his dreadlocks bouncing around into the feet of Lerma, 15 yards outside the Millwall penalty area. Richards has got it. Now Munoz on the far right hand side in front of those visiting Millwall supporters. Sarr comes short for it, tries to return it to Munoz, puts too much on it, and out of play for a goal kick. It was 2-0 Preston against Burnley the last time we were with you, Lee Blakeman. Is that still the case?
It is just about. Preston 2, Burnley 0, but Zian Fleming, who's just come on as a substitute for Burnley, has gone really close, put in a shot inside the penalty area, about 12 yards out. Great save by Freddie Woodman to tip it over the crossbar. Midway point to the second half, Preston 2, Burnley 0.
And they're just underway in the EFL games that have got started at 12:30 today. So in terms of the second half, they're underway. Blackburn 0, Norwich 0, Leeds 1, West Brom 1, Oxford 0, Coventry 1. We're at all of those. Birmingham are 1-0 up against Wickham in League 1. It's still goalless between Wrexham and Bolton. Salford are 1-0 up against Bradford. We're there too on this Saturday lunchtime, and it's Tranmere 1, Port Vale 1. Palace leading Millwall by 2-1 here.
He sat his substitutes down, or stood them down. He's told them to go back out for a warm-up, and I'm not surprised, if I'm being completely honest, because I just think I've got to give these players an opportunity to respond, and they've certainly done that early on in this second half, the Millwall players.
Maybe he heard you.
Quite possibly.
Here's Sarr running with some power towards the edge of Millwall's penalty area. He's now in the box, Ismaila Sarr, left hand side, cuts it back to the edge of the area. Eza tried to shift it out of his feet, couldn't do so. Palace have got it again with Sarr, and on the overlap is Gay. Gay's lifted in, goalkeeper got gloves to it. Munoz is at the far post, ball wouldn't sit down for him, and Bryan scampers over there, Joe Bryan, to block Munoz and put it out of play for a Palace throw on the far right.
Yeah, this will happen to Millwall at times. They'll be exposed, they'll get outnumbered in wider areas. There's better quality in the Crystal Palace team as well. They'll have to weather these storms every now and again, but then it's about what they do when they win that ball back.
It was a good touch by Lucas Jensen, the Millwall goalkeeper, to flick that away. Here comes the Palace throw. Lerma into that near post. On it goes from Chris Richards, who was up there, and he's centred off the top of his head. The American, Alabama-born Chris Richards over the bar for a goal kick.
It's a lovely header here, isn't it?
Isn't
I
it
love
just?
his haircut. I really do. I'm just jealous because mine's going.
I think he's got enough to give us both some.
Yeah, he could.
And keep
I didn't
plenty
bring you
on
into
top.
it. You just brought yourself in there.
I know where I'm at, Stephen. Don't worry. 12 minutes into the second half. Palace 2, Millwall of the Championship 1 here on 5 Live on this another great weekend of FA Cup football.
When you say you know where you're going, does that mean you're going to Turkey?
Not quite. All I know is that one's going backwards on top and one's coming forwards, and they're meeting soon. Right, where are we heading on 5 Live? We're going to Ellen Road for Leeds West Brom. John Bennett's there.
Leeds United 1, West Brom 1. Solomon with a shot deflected over for Leeds. James had a header over as well, but West Brom winless in 9 Championship away games are matching the leaders here. Leeds 1, West Brom 1.
Millwall free kick from the left-hand side up towards the edge of Palace's penalty area. Good header away by Lerma, who then has bounced off Tanganga. No foul given. Here's Harding, goes to the byline. Harding's got a corner. It's bounced off Chris Richards. Millwall are still in this, Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, they are, because they're setting themselves up cleverly. Just wonder whether they overhit that free kick. They're looking for Cooper. They kept it alive at that back post, and Lerma, he didn't fancy that challenge, tried to buy a free kick, and Michael Oliver just signalling, get up. No, never a foul. It gives Millwall the opportunity now to swing one in again with Joe Bryan,
who scored a couple of goals at Wembley back in 2020 in a Championship playoff final win for Fulham against Brentford. He's on the corner, up to that far post, caught well by Matt Turner in the unmissable fluorescent goalkeeping jersey.
Yeah, get someone in front of the goalkeeper. You cannot allow the goalkeeper to come and pick that out the air. Okay, even if it's not the greatest ball, make it into a better ball.
Let's go to Ewood Park, Blackburn Norwich. Julia.
It's still Blackburn 0, Norwich 0. End-to-end stuff again in this second half. You join me as Blackburn's Don Hyam is just getting booed by the Norwich fans, and that's because he threw an elbow into the neck of their keeper Angus Gunn in the first half. The ref just gave him a bit of a ticking off. The visitors feel it should be a red, and having seen the replays, you have to say he's very lucky to still be on. But right now, still goalless at Ewood Park.
And straight to the Kassam, because you've got another goal, Laura Kenyon.
And it's Oxford United 1, Coventry 1. The home side equalise. Barely any shots on target all game, but back on level terms through Ollie Romney, the January signing. His debut goal, Oxford United 1, Coventry 1.
Cheers, Laura. Palace 2, Millwall 1, as Mark Gay is irritated as he plays a pass forward that is wide of Eddie Nketiah by some distance in the end. It's bounced out of play for a goal kick. So Palace are not playing with the same fluency, Stephen, as the first half.
It's not as slick as it was in the first half. The fluidity isn't quite there. The movement isn't quite there. That goal's just shook them a little bit, but also the response from Millwall in the second half. And just that feeling around the crowd. There's a little bit of anxiety creeping in.
Now, Wrexham are one of the great names of the FA Cup, aren't they? They've got a League One game against Bolton this lunchtime. Adam Cottier, how's it going?
More than 13,000 watching this game, and the majority of them just gasp because Tom O'Connor, the Wrexham centre-back, missed from only 2 yards when he should have put it in from a Longman cross. It remains 0-0.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you very much. Yeah, there are so many great FA Cup tales from down the years, aren't they? And Wrexham certainly have played their part.
Grew up on the Mickey Thomas goal against Arsenal, the free kick. Wow, remember that.
Yeah, and I was reminding myself this week of Millwall's last win away at a top-flight club in the FA Cup, and that was at Highbury against Arsenal 30 years ago. And Mick McCarthy, who was in charge of Millwall back then.
Well, when you said 30 years ago, I was thinking, I don't really remember that, but I actually do, which is quite concerning.
You think 30 years ago is going to be the 70s, don't you? But it isn't.
Very true. Oh, I'm getting old.
I saw that I was watching the goals actually. Mark Kennedy scored one of the Millwall goals.
Yeah.
18-year-old Mark Kennedy.
And then he got his move to Liverpool.
Here is Gay on the halfway line for Crystal Palace. Now Maxence Lecroix, who has scored for Palace this season here against Manchester City. This is Chris Richards, his fellow defender. Across from the right to the left for Eza, and a low ball further still to the left-hand side for Chilwell. Now Gay moving forward into a bit of space. Lerma's got it. On it goes to Sarr. Out to the right side for Munoz. Richards to his right. His ball in. Deflected behind for a corner. But straight to Deepdale we go because Lee Blakeman.
3-0 to Preston. Low ball in from the left. Stabbed in 6 yards out by Will Keane. Some of those 5,000 plus Burnley fans heading for the exits because it's Preston 3, Burnley 0.
Blimey. Burnley don't concede goals, and then they go and concede 3 against their great local rivals. What a cup story.
That won't go down well at all, will it? I know he's made changes, Scott Parker, but even still, they'll be furious.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be Preston in the quarter-final draw with Aston Villa, who won against Cardiff last night. But who from here? Palace 2, Millwall 1. Short Palace corner. Back it comes to Hughes. Lobbed it up to the far post. Caught well by the back-pedalling Lucas Jensen, who's bowled it out quickly to this right-hand side for Josh Coburn. Didn't have anybody ahead of him, the big Millwall forward, so he had to go back and keep possession. That's what Millwall have done with Casper De Norre. And then De Norre spreading it to the left for Aziz. Lovely first touch, Aziz. Palace have got players back, but Aziz with the ball at his feet. Outside the box, now on the edge of the area. Here's Mitchell to Harding right side of the penalty area, low ball in, great ball in, unlucky. so close to being converted by Coburn, who was on the stretch. It was out of the reach of his studs, and it rolls through to Turner.
Yeah, he should have scored one in the first half, but this one is just slightly ahead of him. But lovely play on the right-hand side from Wes Harding. He wants to get it on his right foot and bend it in, but he just knows that that cross has been shut off. So he pulls it inside on his left foot, and it's almost like a low pass into the far post. But Coburn can't quite get on the end of it after starting the move.
Showing a lot of energy, Wes Harding, down that right-hand side for a player who I mentioned earlier is only making his third Millwall appearance of this season.
He won't be able to walk tomorrow. He'll be needing an ice bath straight after the game. He'll be in one all day tomorrow as well. And what are we in? The 64th minute?
Particularly as he played for the under-21s in a game on Tuesday night against Brentford. This is Saab moving up to the edge of Millwall's penalty area for Palace, blocked by Bryan, but his clearance was intended for Coburn, but Richards got in the way for Palace, and now Selhurst Park is urging Palace on to go and find a goal to restore a 2-goal comfort again. Sarr shoots on the edge of the box. He's lifted that a long way over the bar.
Yeah, disappointing from Sarr. He's just allowed a little bit of space, and Millwall haven't allowed the Crystal Palace players too much of that in this game. He just picks his head up, but leans back ever so slightly, blazes one over the bar.
Right, Palace are making a couple of changes, but we'll tell you about that in a moment, because first we've got a goal at Oxford to tell you about, Laura Kenyon.
We have Oxford United 1, Coventry 2. Frank Lampard's side back in front and in the playoff places as it stands. It's Ephron Mason-Clark with a header looping over the keeper, Ollie Dovin. It's Oxford United 1, Coventry 2.
I'll tell you what, Frank Lampard's Coventry City are right there, aren't they, in terms of the playoff picture this season, and you have to call them Frank Lampard's Coventry.
That's what I'm laughing at. Yeah, I mean, he's done an incredible job, hasn't he, to take them from where they were. I think there was a feeling that Mark Robbins he could have corrected things, given more time at Coventry, but take nothing away from what Frank's done. He's done an amazing job so far, but it's all about getting in them playoff positions.
Right, we've had a flurry of changes here. I'm going to get producer George Cummings to keep an eye on the 3 Millwall changes that are happening right now, because the Palace ones are significant, because Adam Wharton has come on, having made his return during the week against Aston Villa. The very impressive young midfielder, 21 years old, and also on the pitch I've just seen a flash of Romain Essa as well, and if that is a player that you are not familiar with, he is on the pitch, the 19-year-old, and facing his former club. He left Millwall for Crystal Palace in January for an initial fee of £12 million, scored on his debut against Brentford, and he's on.
We're delighted he's on, but he's a commentator's worst nightmare when you've got Eza and Essa on the same pitch, so can't wait for that.
That's the latest challenge, and there's been a few this afternoon at Selhurst Park. Palace 2, 10-man, Millwall 1. Stephen Warnock is with us.
I'm looking forward to seeing him play, though. I've seen so much about him and heard so much. You see the clips, but what can you do when you've got pressure on you? And there is a little bit of pressure on this game now, because Millwall have come back into it, and they've sort of give themselves a little bit of a lifeline just before half-time.
The trio of Millwall changes are off Mitchell, Coburn and Denor, and on George Saville, Mihailo Ivanovic, who scored a brilliant free kick recently against Preston, which is worth watching if you haven't seen it, and George Honeyman as well, the former Sunderland and Hull midfielder. So that's the triple change from Alex Neil, who has now used up all of his substitutes this afternoon, as Gay lifts a ball forward from the halfway line, runs away from Romain Essa, and out of play for a goal kick. So off we go to St Andrews, Birmingham Wycombe. Tom Gale.
1, Wycombe 0. The visitors bringing on an extra defender at the break following Simons' first half red. Ethan Laird was the man fouled for that sending off, and he's still wreaking havoc down the right hand side. Won another free kick deep in opposition territory. Birmingham 1, Wycombe 0.
And here Palace 2, Millwall 1, midway point in the second half on this FA Cup weekend. And there's plenty more live sport coming your way tomorrow as well. We've got Newcastle against Brighton in the FA Cup. We've got Women's Super League, a London derby there as well on Sports Extra tomorrow night at 5:15, Arsenal against West Ham United. And before all of that, on Sports Extra tonight from 9:30, we're in Las Vegas, because we've got live rugby league from Las Vegas. Who would have thought that those words would ever be ushered? Wigan Warriors against Warrington Wolves this evening. You can hear it all from 9:30.
I remember being there a few weeks ago in Vegas, and I saw all these signs about Wigan Warriors and Warrington. I was thinking, what's going on here? I mean, all the signs were up, and what a spectacle that's going to be.
Yeah, should be a great listen tonight from 9:30. 2-1 Palace here against Millwall, and another goal or a Kenyan between Oxford and Coventry.
What a game. Oxford United 2, Coventry 2, and this is remarkable from the home side. Haven't looked like scoring all game, and back on level terms again. Elliot Moore, the captain this time, a scrappy goal, but the Oxford fans love it. It's Oxford United 2, Coventry 2.
Great game developing there this afternoon, and here in Super Saturday sunshine, Millwall just hoping, Stephen Warnock, that one big moment comes their way. Maybe it might do here. It's Aziz inside the box, deflected cross which has bounced off Richards and has spun up over his own crossbar, so it's a Millwall corner.
I think the big positive is that in the first half, when he went down to 10 men, they didn't really create anything until the dying seconds of the first half, and they pinched a goal. But in the second half, they've had 4 or 5 opportunities where they've had attempts on goal, but they've had now, I think this is the third corner of the second half, which shows that they're progressing. And now it's about, can you pick out that big guy, Jake Cooper? He's the one that you're going to be trying to look for. It's interesting that it's Jefferson Lerma who's picking him up.
It's Brian's corner for Millwall from the left, spun in. The header is caught well by the goalkeeper. It was a good leap, and it was well held by Turner.
Yeah, it was Ivanovic who got the header. Good a header as well, it was. From Crystal Palace though.
Yeah, and Iberez has got all the tricks out, gliding away from a couple of challenges on the left, infield for Walton. And then Essa has it taken off him, and then Richards is fouled by Bangura Williams. He does have to be a bit careful because he is on a yellow card.
Yeah, he just left a foot out, dangled a leg, didn't he, Chris Richards? And made the most of it and just fell over it because he'd overstretched his touch, and it would have gone to a Millwall player. Just has to be careful, as you say though, Chris, because you don't want to lose a player.
Crystal Palace, who lost to Chelsea in the semi-finals in 2022, but either side of that 4 third-round exits as Palace take a quick free kick, and the ball in the end has bounced harmlessly through to Jensen. It could have been a different story there, but the Millwall goalkeeper Jensen has it. It was brought to England by Burnley, actually. It's got a very interesting story, Jensen, the keeper for Millwall, because at the age of 14 he quit football for 3 years to compete in mountain biking, and he got to a really high level as well, and then decided to go back to football at 70.
Wow, that's interesting.
So I don't know what I expect you to say to that, but
no, I was just, thanks for telling us. Yeah, appreciate it. No, but it's good, isn't it? That it's interesting that you'd step away, but like you say, if you get to a high level of something else, I suppose it gets to a point where what's your passion, what do you feel like you're better at, or what gives you more of a buzz, and obviously felt that football was the one.
I wondered, having joined Burnley, whether he was related to Brian Jensen. Do you remember him, the old Burnley goalkeeper? It turns out he's not at all, and then I found out that Brian Jensen does have a son, and his name's Sebastian, and he's in the academy at Brighton. And he's a goalkeeper. So there you go. 2-1 Palace lead. Here's Mark Gay.
Fountain of knowledge today, aren't you?
Just reeling out all my Lucas Jensen stats. I'm all out now. Here's Lerma with the number 8 on the back of his shirt, the Palace midfielder. Lacroix on the halfway line. Palace here at Selhurst Park, a packed Selhurst Park, which still has some jeopardy rippling around this stadium with the scoreline Palace 2, Millwall 1, and it's a Palace throw on the far right, halfway inside Millwall's half.
What have you said to those Millwall fans opposite us that with 7 minutes on the clock they lose a player, they'd still be in the game in the 70th minute? They'd have probably laughed at you, but now going 2 goals down and now being in a game, they'll be absolutely delighted with their team's performance, heart, spirit, desire to try and get back into it. A little bit of quality now that we've seen in the second half. The signs are promising.
Yeah, Millwall FA Cup finalists in 2004 when they were beaten by Manchester United, who are the team that have twice denied Crystal Palace in the showpiece event as well in 1990 and 2016. They've been the cursed Manchester United of both of these clubs on the big stage. Palace 2, Millwall 1. Back to Deepdale, Preston Burnley. It feels like this game certainly hasn't got any jeopardy in it, Lee Blakeman.
Preston 3, Burnley 0. Militon Zmajic was the man we were talking about pre-match because of those racism accusations made by Burnley's Hannibal Mejbri. He scored today as Zmajic. He's cocked his ears as he celebrated in front of the Burnley fans, and he's now just been substituted and got a standing ovation from the majority of Preston supporters inside the ground. Preston 3, Burnley 0.
Thank you, Lee. We have got 17 minutes to go here of the second half here, but with a Palace throw deep in their own half, we are going for a penalty at the Kassam Oxford Coventry. Laura,
a penalty that Ellis Sims misses. It is saved, and the rebound hits the crossbar. My goodness me, it remains Oxford United 2, Coventry 2. A breathless spell of football end to end. The penalty given by Jeremy Simpson, it was not scored by Coventry's Ellis Sims. It's 2-2.
Great game in the Championship there, and a full fixture list in the EFL today and in Scotland, so we'll keep you across all of that in our live 3 o'clock FA Cup game this afternoon, which comes from the South Coast, the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Wolves, those two meeting again just as they did last week in the Premier League, as Nketiah is barged into by Cooper off the ball. He'd beaten him, he'd knocked the ball round him. The Millwall defender smashes into him deliberately. He's been booked, and it's a Palace free kick.
Yeah, it had to take a yellow for his team there, but what are Millwall doing? They've got a throw in halfway down the touchline of the Crystal Palace half, and I'm thinking, well, you've got success out of long throws. Tanganga comes short for a short throw in and then puts his team in danger. Honeyman tries to head it, and it's a poor header, and it's just a series of events that leads to Crystal Palace countering. When just put that ball in the box, be direct, don't be a snob about it. Try and win in a way that is effective.
15 minutes for Millwall to try and find an equaliser with their 10 men to take this game to extra time. That is, remember the situation with these FA Cup ties now, there are no replays. It has to be decided today. FA Cup quarter-final draw is tomorrow evening after the Manchester United against Fulham game, so we'll have that live for you on 5 Live. That FA Cup draw, that game is on BBC One. We've got Newcastle against Brighton and Hove Albion tomorrow. John Murray is at St James's Park for that one, and Lee Blakeman's at Deepdale today for Preston Burnley. What's the latest? No, we're going to Ellen Road. My apologies. Leeds West Brom, John Bennett.
It's still 1-1. Leeds have won 13 of the last 14 here in the Championship. They're pushing for another win. James and Tanaka had shots blocked. At the other end, though, Furlong very close to scoring his second goal of the game, a header over. Leeds 1, West Brom 1.
Millwall, who beat Leeds United in round 4. 2-1 down here, Millwall, as Harding loses out to the still hungry Ben Chilwell, the Crystal Palace left back, who's been doing some work with Oliver Glasner and some of his backroom staff in the last couple of weeks about what Palace want from their wing backs this season.
He wants him to play high up the pitch and be aggressive in the way that he plays, and he's certainly doing that, Ben Chilwell, but you've got to have the players around you to allow you to play that, and with Eza, the way he floats into that position will allow him naturally to get that space.
Lacroix lifting it forwards, but the frustration in Selhurst Park, because Lacroix has popped it into a space, he hasn't picked out a man, and it's bobbled out of play for a Millwall goal kick, and one goal is all Millwall need in this South London derby.
It's a funny old game, football, isn't it? They've just beaten Aston Villa 4-1 in the week. The first half was scintillating football, and then Millwall get a goal at the dying stages of the first half, and they look like they've never played together now. They can't complete passes, they're all asking questions of each other. Funny game. Yeah,
all those goals in the final 13 minutes of the first half. An own goal from Tanganga. Daniel Munoz got the second for Palace. One back from Wes Harding deep into first half stoppage time. Palace 2, Millwall 1. I mentioned that we've got that live game at 3 o'clock in the FA Cup between Bournemouth and Wolves, and Alistair Bruce Ball can bring us the team news.
3 changes for Bournemouth from Tuesday's defeat at Brighton. Evan Nielsen starts up front. Alex Scott in for Ryan Christie, who misses out altogether. It's Tavernier in for Kluivert. Both Kluivert and Ouattara are on the bench. Nasser Giga makes a first start for Wolves in the back 3. Jorgen Strand Larsen comes in up front today. Sam Johnston's in goal, as he has been for the FA Cup. And it's Sarabia in for Andre.
Cheers, Ali. Rob Green is alongside Alistair Bruce Ball for commentary this afternoon between Bournemouth and Wolves. We've got Man City against Plymouth to come from 5:45. And the goals, Laura Kenyon, keep on coming for you.
You just cannot take your eyes off this frantic game of football. Oxford United 2, Coventry 3, a missed Coventry penalty, but they are now back in front. Sakamoto with a great strike inside the box. It was poor Oxford United defending. It's Oxford United 2, Coventry 3.
And from the Championship straight to League 2, because Sojo Saka, you've got a goal between Salford and Bradford as well.
Salford 1, Bradford City 1. Bradford finally on the score sheet after all those chances in the first half. Brad Halliday latching onto a box right across ball right across the box, smashing it into the net. It is Salford 1, Bradford 1.
I noted, Stephen, that if Crystal Palace were to go out today, and as it stands they are going through, they would only have one more game in March. So bear in mind, it's the 1st of March today. They've got Ipswich next week, but then it would be 3 blank weekends because they're due to play Newcastle, but that's obviously been postponed or because of the League Cup final. Then it's the international break the following weekend, and then of course it's FA Cup quarter-final weekend. So technically, if they weren't to get through today, Palace, their next game after Ipswich next weekend wouldn't be till the 2nd of April against Southampton.
Yeah, and that's a very difficult thing for a manager. Yes, it's nice for the rest side of things, but to actually keep your team sharp and active, that's a very hard thing.
Wharton receiving the acclaim of the crowd for his tenaciousness in midfield to get the ball back for Crystal Palace, and Munoz returning it to his goalkeeper Matt Turner. And you can hear around Selhurst Park there is just a feeling amongst this packed crowd with the red and the blue everywhere you look on shirts being displayed around this stadium. It's a sort of a t-shirt day really if you're in the sun, that Palace need to find another goal to settle this cup tie once and for all. Yeah,
and one should settle it for them, because you feel like it would just deflate Millwall a little bit for the energy that they put into this game. But they're still on the edge, which we didn't think we would have in the first half. It's a great challenge.
Yeah, Munoz showing a bit of the ball to Aziz, and Aziz seized upon that, went smashing into the challenge, and actually the last touch has ricocheted out off Munoz, so it's a Millwall throw in the left back berth.
You just get that feeling that in the second half, especially after the goal went in at the end of the first half, that they get that feeling that they showed Crystal Palace too much respect. They stepped off them, they allowed them to have the ball, and Alex Neil's got in and said absolutely not, you cannot allow good players that second or two to pick the head up, and they haven't done that in the second half.
Palace 2, Millwall 1 as Tanganga hooks one away, the Millwall centre-half from the edge of his own penalty area. There's Nketiah, and now Romain Essa. Nketiah was fouled, so free kick Palace, 15 yards outside the box. Off we go to the Champions Trophy game. How is South Africa's run chase against England developing, Stefan Schemmel?
South Africa 100 for 2, they need only 80 to win. England thought they had a wicket in the last over, bowled by Jamie Overton. Heinrich Klaassen belted the ball back towards the bowler, who stuck out his boot. He thought he got a deflection onto the non-striker's end, which would have run out Rassie van der Dusen. It went to the TV umpire. We had lots and lots of replays. England were convinced, but the technology showed there wasn't a little scratch on the boot of Jamie Overton. He didn't get a touch.
Oh, 3-1 to Palace. That'll seal it. It's Eddie Nketiah's header, which looped up and beyond the goalkeeper Jensen and in off the far post. And now, perhaps finally, Palace can celebrate not just a win over a local rival, but also a place in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup, because it's Palace 3, Millwall 1.
And I'll be bitterly disappointed, Millwall, with this goal, because what they're very good at is defending set pieces because of the size of the team. But take nothing away from the header from Chris Richards. It's floated into an area by Eza, into the far post. Richards gets high and above the Millwall players, and he just nods it across to Nketiah, but it's Nketiah who's free, and he gets a looping header into that far left-hand corner, kisses the post and goes in. What a header from Nketiah.
Yeah, dare I say it, very Mateta-esque from Eddie Nketiah.
It certainly was. It's a beautiful header. He's gone back away from goal. There's not much pace on the header from Chris Richards into Nketiah, so he has to generate all that power. But what I will say is the leap to get above George Saville is quite brilliant from Nketiah. London buses, aren't they? When you get one, they just keep coming. Nketiah's started to find a little bit of confidence and a little bit of form.
Yeah, and goals in 3 different competitions now for Eddie Nketiah and Palace this season. League Cup, Premier League during the week against Villa, and now on here to put Palace 3-1 up against Millwall. And it is all over at Deepdale, and I can imagine Lee Blakeman the scenes of celebration amongst those home supporters.
That would be an understatement. They're going absolutely crazy all around me. Preston 3, Burnley 0. Home team 2 up at half-time thanks to a brilliant Robbie Brady free kick and a goal for Militin Osmajic. Controversial celebration, more on that later. Will Keane wrapped it up in the second half to send Preston into the quarter-finals of the FA Cup for the first time since 1966. Can never remember who won the World Cup that year. Final score, Preston 3, Burnley 0.
Yeah, always slips the mind, doesn't it? So Preston and Aston Villa, the confirmed members of that quarter-final draw tomorrow, and Crystal Palace 3-1 up against Millwall are 6 minutes plus stoppage time away from having their own spot.
Yeah, Nick. They've dug in Crystal Palace because they haven't been the better team in the second half, and they've been not outplayed. Munoz has nicked it.
It's Munoz into the penalty area. The layoff is looking for Eza. It's away as far as Wharton, and then Lerma from distance. That nearly was a beautiful way to seal a Palace victory. He's hit that really well, Lerma. It was rising, and it just, unfortunately for him, kept rising.
Yeah, lovely touch from Lerma, and it just sat up perfectly for him. Lashes across it with his right foot. It just, as he cuts across it, it just continues to rise. I thought it was going to crash in the top corner. There's just a party atmosphere in here now. You can hear the Crystal Palace fans.
Well, Palace are making a change. Ibera Eza is coming off. We're going to get some more minutes here for the Brazilian Matheus França, who only made his first appearance of the season in the last round for Crystal Palace. That victory over Doncaster. He's had an awful, wretched time since he arrived at the club from Flamengo 19 months ago. It's only his 14th appearance for Crystal Palace today, and Millwall are making a change as well here, so we're going to see Aidemo Imaku on for them, I think, shortly. But it feels like, when you look at Crystal Palace, Stephen Warnock, that given the number of big teams, so-called big teams, that are already out of the FA Cup this season, the path might be forming for someone like Crystal Palace to get to the final again.
Absolutely, you want to play Crystal Palace with the form that they're in at the moment. They're an exciting team going forward. I think defensively they've looked more solid in the last recent weeks, and that's why the form has picked up. They've got goals in the team. The only concern now will be what's the situation with Mateta. How badly injured is he? Will they miss him for a large period of time? Because he's the main goal threat.
Yeah, and we heard from Steve Parish at half-time on BBC One saying that he's got a gash behind the ear, Jean-Philippe Mateta, and they are obviously assessing a head injury, potential concussion, I'm sure, and all of that is at hospital right now, and clearly we are wishing him well. Here's Richards for Palace into the box, looking for Nketiah, who was sprightly enough to it, but couldn't reach it. Runs out of play for a Millwall goal kick. Palace 3, Millwall 1.
Yeah, it's a good run from Nketiah, though. He wants to play on that shoulder. I spoke about it in the first half, where he's got to mix his game up. He's got to learn to come short as well, but the Crystal Palace players have to understand as well what his strengths are, and his strengths are running on that shoulder, getting him behind.
Well, another day where Millwall are not going to enjoy the bragging rights over Crystal Palace. They've not been able to do it since New Year's Day 2011, when they beat them by 3-0 in the Championship. Jason Puncheon, who of course would go on to be a Palace player, scored a hat-trick for Millwall that day, and it ended up being the last game of George Burley's time as Crystal Palace manager too. But the times have shifted between these two. Palace established in the Premier League and Millwall in the Championship. Now it seems they're going to have to focus on continuing to mount this unlikely playoff charge as França working to try and win the ball back. The Palace substitute gives away the free kick inside Millwall's half.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to get up to speed into this game because it has been quick, it's been frantic. But what have we got left? 3 minutes on the clock in normal time. You just wonder whether Millwall can get one back again. It will just cause this place to go a little bit anxious again. They have a free kick deep in their own half.
I imagine they're in the closing stages at St Andrews between Birmingham City and Wickham, are they, Tom Gale?
Just over 10 minutes of normal time, Chris. Birmingham 1, 10-man Wickham 0. The visitors playing their best football despite that player down. Far more attacking threat. The centre-back, Jolo, strike inside the 6-yard box. Saved Spider-Man-esque by Ryan Alsop. It's Birmingham 1, Wickham 0.
Shot from the edge of the penalty area from Essa, right at goalkeeper Jensen. that would just about top it off for Millwall, wouldn't it, on a difficult afternoon. Goalkeeper sent off, losing Camille Negley, arguably one of their best players to injury, and then it could have been one of their own coming back to score and to seal an FA Cup win for Palace.
Yeah, what I liked about that move though was Essa started it as well. Lovely ball with the outside of his right foot into the path of Nketiah. Didn't just admire it, followed it up and managed to get his shot away himself. It's a nice little link-up play between them two, and the understanding between them is obviously very exciting.
Yeah, and if you are a forward player at Crystal Palace, either one here now or someone like Michael Elise, who has been, and with the greatest of respect, bounced on to even bigger things. It feels like this is a great club to be at, and listen to the noise around this ground now. They will absolutely love it if they can have a home tie, Crystal Palace, in an FA Cup quarter-final, to use Selhurst Park and all its might, which when it is bouncing like this is someplace.
This is a tough place to play football. I've been here many times, and it's one of those intimidating atmospheres. It's a tight ground. You listen to the noise, it can be very difficult. You can't often hear your own thoughts when you're on the pitch. The communication's very difficult to get across to each other. So, as you say, Chris, they'll want to make sure that they get a tie here. Not that they can guarantee that, but they'll want a tie here, and they'll fancy the chances against anyone.
Yeah, and with their Premier League season, I mean, they're not completely out of the European picture, Crystal Palace, but they're going to have a bit of a task to get in there, so they can put everything into the FA Cup now. They're 3-1 up against Millwall. Couple of late changes for Palace. On come both Nathaniel Klein and Justin Devenny for a few minutes at the end of a game that Palace are moving towards a victory in. Final 30 seconds plus stoppage time left here. Palace have got to throw in their right back area. And off we go to Ewood Park. Blackburn Norwich, Julia Bowles.
Where it is still goalless at Ewood Park, but Blackburn are now down to 10 men. Emmanuel Dennis came off the bench on the hour mark. He's had 2 yellow cards for some pretty tough tackles, and the second one saw him then get the red card. So we've got about 10 minutes left to play. It is Blackburn 0, Norwich 0.
We've seen one of Emmanuel Dennis's former teammates on the pitch today, Ismail Assar. Those two, of course, were together at Watford and linked up to great effect as well during their time together in Watford's forward line in the Premier League. Wharton pushing it on towards Devenny on the halfway line, running from right to left. Oh, lovely pass to Devenny down the left-hand side for Chilwell. Chilwell's cross into the box is missed on the stretch. It was just out of the reach of França in terms of being able to get firm contact on the ball.
Yeah, lovely play in midfield from Devenny. Just ran away from Saville, and then that ball we spoke about in the first half split the centre-back and the full-back into Chilwell. As Chilwell crossed it, França gets to the ball and he can't quite get the connection. But Esse is behind him and had a better opportunity. Just needs to give him a shout, and it was probably a better chance for him.
So goal kick to Millwall. 3-1 down here, and to their great credit, the Millwall supporters, I don't know whether that's under police instructions or not, but that away end still looks absolutely packed opposite us in the Arthur Waite stand, and they would have come here not expecting to beat Crystal Palace, but rather hoping, and unfortunately for those near 4,000 Millwall supporters, it is not going to be their afternoon in the FA Cup.
No, circumstances weren't ideal with the sending off in the first half so early, but what they will be proud is the way that the team have fought and held on as long as they could, and they've been a goal threat as well, which is testament to them with being down to 10 men. So I think the Millwall fans will be very pleased today.
Palace in possession in their own half, and this is a football club, Millwall, that has been rocked to its core in the past couple of years by 2 tragic events, the death of John Berylson, their chairman, in 2023, and then last summer they had the sudden passing of goalkeeper Matej Sarkic to try and cope with, which was so sad. But there is such a unity about Millwall that as a club, as a community, they have gathered together. They've gone again this season, and they look like they're going places under Alex Neil.
Yeah, well, I think what Alex Neil's understood straight away. He's got one of my former teammates on the bench in his coaching staff, Andy Marshall, who's been at the club for years, so he'll know the club inside out. He'll try and use all that to sort of bridge the gap between the players, the staff and the fan group, and that's vitally important as well.
To Ellen Road we go. How long left with you, John Bennett?
We have just 2 minutes left. Leeds being frustrated at the moment. 1-1 against West Brom. They have hit the bar. Mateo Joseph on as a sub. Great run and shot, but it hit the woodwork. Leeds 1, West Brom 1.
Millwall on the edge of Palace's penalty area, trying to engineer an opportunity to give them still a chance here. Bangura Williams forcing his way through. Gay getting a touch to it, and the ball is out of play, so it is going to be a Millwall corner. And before that's taken, we're going back to the Kassam Oxford Coventry. Laura.
A tense end here, just 3 minutes left of normal time. Oxford United 2, Coventry 3, both sides making changes for the final exchanges. Haji Wright, Coventry's lead scorer, back from long-term injury. He's on and causing a nuisance already. Oxford United 2, Coventry 3.
Thanks, Laura. Palace 3, Millwall 1. Inside the final 60 seconds of stoppage time. Millwall corner. Joe Bryan takes it, lofts it in left-footed, caught by Matt Turner, who then dives onto the floor, lands on the ball, and we'll just see out these final few seconds that Palace are going to enjoy of this FA Cup afternoon, because they are moving into the quarter-finals of this competition for the first time since they got to the semi-finals in 2022. Crystal Palace, when they were beaten eventually by Chelsea, is Wharton, and back it goes for Richards, and Palace look like they're just going to hang on to the ball for what's left of this game.
Yeah, I was just watching Devaney there and the way he moves. He's got a very similar style as Adam Wharton. There we go.
It's all over. Selhurst Park celebrates a victory because Crystal Palace have beaten Millwall by 3 goals to 1.